You're watching CHCO-TV's gavel-to-gavel coverage of the June 2nd, 2025 regular council meeting for the town of St. Andrews. I'm Florence Mitchell. This is Mayor Brad Henderson's final council meeting. This meeting begins with two presentations, the first by Caroline Davies of Passamaquoddy Lodge on the affordable housing development behind 102 Reed Avenue, and the second by Kevin Simmons, owner of the Herring Pub on Water Street, regarding the Market Square and Market Wharf refurbishment project. Council will later move to authorize the tendering of the project. Under Communications, Council will review the Explore St. Andrews report for May 2025, and the Canadian Association of Municipal Administrators will recognize Chief Administrative Officer Chris Spear for his service. Under Planning and Community Development, Councillors Harland and Heenan will move that Council approves staff to move forward with a judicial review at the Court of King's Bench based on the April 4th, 2025 Assessment Planning and Appeals Tribunal decision of Grew versus the Town of St. Andrews Planning Advisory Committee and Donovan Law. Under Finance and Administration, Council will move to accept the resignation of Brad Henderson as Mayor of St. Andrews and to accept Deputy Mayor Kate Akagi as Mayor. Further to this, Council will move to appoint a new Deputy Mayor under Procedural Bylaw 23-06 and to make the appropriate financial authorization adjustments. Now let's join Council at the W.C. O'Neill Arena Complex Council Chambers in St. Andrews.
All right, Council, let's call to order the regular Council meeting of 250602 for the Town of St. Andrews, Monday, June 2nd, 2025. 6:30 p.m. Here we are once again at the W.C. O'Neill Arena Complex Chambers. This meeting will be aired through Zoom and Facebook. If anyone has any questions specifically to tonight's agenda, you can send them in by emailing pnopper@townofstandrews.ca, and Mr. Nopper will make sure to put that in the comments so everyone will have that email right there. I am going to do the recording of attendance, and I note that all members of council are on attendance. We do have two that are joining virtually, so thank you for being here as well, but all members of council are here. And I do want to recognize that we are on the unceded traditional territory of the Beskotomagati people. I'll be looking for a mover for tonight's agenda. Got Councillor Neal and seconded by Councillor Heenan. Any changes to the agenda this evening? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor of approving this agenda, please signify by saying aye. That is everybody. The agenda has been carried. And disclosure of conflict of interest. Any this evening that anyone would like to disclose? I'm seeing none. If anything arises throughout the meeting, please feel free to notify me and we will take a moment so you can recuse yourself. We're going to jump right into our presentations. The first one is Caroline Davies, Passamaquoddy Lodge, Inc. She's doing a presentation on affordable housing development behind 102 Reed Avenue. Welcome, Caroline. Good to see you again. In a different presentation.
I know, I should have come. Well, we can start off. I could talk about the lodge again.
Why not? Old times.
Exactly. I couldn't let you go without one last presentation, you know. Yeah, thank you, Your Worship and Council, for letting us come and make our presentation. I also want to acknowledge that we have a number of board members here this evening. So, and we have the owner of the picket fence, Sue Lankish-Lister, here as part of our proposal. One of the things that we have, I'll wait for a sec, sorry. Paul's usually a lot faster than me. We have been looking at affordable housing in large part because we've had trouble attracting and retaining staff. And this started in basically with COVID, when we were able to hire 3 RNs, which were and are as scarce as hen's teeth, and they couldn't find affordable housing in St. Andrews, and so they all had to either quit or not accept the job. Do you want to, next slide? And the other thing, we did a lot of research, and I'm sorry Xander's not here, but we did a lot of research with Xander on, on the median market rates, rental rates here, and we found out that what a lot of the rents were above what the salary scale that the staff at the lodge have can afford their, so they can't, it's more than 30% of their gross annual income, which is how you define affordable housing. Next. We were very lucky to be offered the donation of some land, and I will say as a personal note, I'm very sorry that we're getting that donation of land because it's got great hay on it. But anyway, thank you, Sue and Vern. This is tremendous to have that offer, and this has really spurred us on in our quest to figure out how we could get to affordable housing so we could attract and retain staff. We've done a lot of work with specialists in the area in terms of what's available for funding. So NB Housing has funding. We've applied with them to kickstart what our initiative, and it's currently being reviewed. Once that happens, we will be eligible to look at for CMHC grants. And this is how we would be able to afford to move forward on this because we are a not-for-profit organization and it costs to build. We would allocate 6 units initially for staff. That's what the administrative staff at Passamaquoddy Lodge feel would be needed, in addition to where people already live. And, some people commute here from St. George, Eastern Charlotte, from St. Stephen, et cetera. We would also have 4 of the units would be subsidized housing for seniors so they could stay in the area, because we all know that seniors are often our most vulnerable because they do not have, if they're on a fixed income, the rents here are too high for them to be able to stay in the area. We looked at a number of models in terms of what to build, and we looked at sort of long apartment-style building, 2-story. We looked at a couple of different smaller ones, and we landed on this design, which is there'd be 5 units in each of them. There'd be 2 houses, so you get the rendering, the front view, and then the side views, which the doors would be stairs to the 2 upstairs apartments. Next. This is the layout. I know it's in your package. It's a little harder for the people in the room to see, but there would be 3 one-bedrooms on the ground floor, 1 of them barrier-free. We are also looking at making the other 2 as accessible as possible so that people, if something does happen, they can stay in their unit and not have to move. The other, and upstairs, there are 2 2-bedroom units so that hopefully a family could stay there. The benefits as we see, obviously for us it's to attract and retain staff, and if you don't have staff, you aren't providing the services our people need in the nursing home. And as you've heard in my other presentations, several other presentations over the years, that we are the largest year-round employer in the area, so it would help to keep us doing that. When we get our new complex, we will grow again, so we will need housing. Obviously, if we got more people in town, and I see a lot of the staff when I'm at the grocery store or at the bank, they bring business into the bank, into the town, and they leave money in the town, which is great. We get new families in town. I always appreciate when we can lower my average age. So, as I said earlier, if we have subsidized housing for seniors, they can stay in the community. That is essential, I think, for any family that they want to keep their grandparents around. And there would also be property taxes flowing from this. Okay, Paul. What we will be looking for is help with the cost of rezoning, road access, and some financial assistance. On the zoning, it's currently tourist commercial, and we would, and Xander can correct me on this, but I think it has to be rezoned to multiple residential 1. And there are some costs to doing that. On the road access, I apologize that this is small and my technical skills do not allow me to enlarge it. But the square in red is the piece of property that Sue is offering to us. The green square was where if we'd done one building, sort of long apartment style would have been. We have opted for the 2 blue ones, and then the yellow spaces are parking. We looked at, next slide. In terms of accessing, this is the private laneway going to the ambulance bay. There is a spot on the other side of the ambulance bay on Demont. The staff has told us that we can't move I think it's a storm drainage, yeah. The town owns the land that this road is on, so it could be upgraded to a public road. And if it becomes a public road, then the town could maintain it, which would make us happier. But we'd also then have the option or the obligation of providing 8% of the land for public use. One thought would be we could provide a swath of land along the back end of the property, which could connect with some of the other trails, land for trails that currently exist. So that is what we've looked at. Next one. I know that some of the other recent developments in town have received some financial assistance, and I know that one of them is a couple of them are for profit. So we would be asking for some assistance that way. The other thing, I guess, into that extent, I've been told that there are wait lists for the apartments at the Compass Building. So it's not like we're providing accommodation or providing apartments in a saturated market where there's lots of a high vacancy rate. So, and I guess after that, the rest is, do you have any questions? We do not have a formal ask right now because we need to know what NB Housing is going to, how they're going to support us and what the flexibility is with CMHC, but we will be looking for some assistance.
Perfect. Well, I will open it up to council. Thank you very much for the presentation. Yeah, my big question was how do you access it and where do you access it? And you seem to have answered that. I guess more of a question for staff, and I know it's preliminary, and I don't know if you've had a chance to even look at it, but did you have any concerns about the proposed use of town land in order to access this particular development?
No, Your Worship. Initially, that laneway was set up for access to the ambulance bay. So town actually worked with them last year. You approved, 2 years ago, approved adjusting that right-of-way so that there could be multiple uses on it. There would have to be it widened a bit. We had a look, and especially where there's an ambulance bay at the other end, you probably want it to be wide enough for 2 lanes of traffic. But as you can see from the picture provided by Ms. Davies, it's pretty much flat grass there, so the cost of widening won't be significant. And I'm assuming that you'd be asking for us to take on the widening in addition. So there'd be that. We haven't worked out a price yet, but we can, before the final request comes in, we can work out an estimated cost to widen that to a suitable standard.
Perfect. And before I throw this over to council, I just wanted to comment on Sue and Vern Lister. I just wanted to say that is a sizable donation, and I will say I've got a lot of respect for a lot of people in this community, but Sue, you and Vern are right up there at the top. If you see the things you do around this community, I got to know you better, I think, through CCRTA. You were doing the books for free. Just seeing you and Vern over the years at the curling club and all you do to make this community a better place. So I think that you should be definitely recognized by this council, whether we're part of this project or not, which I think we will be. It doesn't go unnoticed, all of what you do for St. Andrews, so thank you for that. Council, over to you. Councilor Ireland.
Thanks, Carolyn, for the presentation. I've heard it before, but it was great. Just wondering about the time frame. So what are we hoping for? I think council needs to understand that a little bit.
We're hoping to get all the technical aspects done, land severed, transferred by the end of this calendar year. And we wouldn't be looking to, and probably get the design finalized, and we wouldn't be looking to do anything in terms of building until next year.
Okay, great, thanks.
Any other member? Councilor Michelle?
Just a question for staff.
First meeting.
Sorry about that. Yeah. Just a question for staff. Could you remind me why we can't access it from the down in subdivision corner there? Is that Prince of Wales or where it turns into
Demonts, but it's
Demonts, right.
because there's a fire hydrant there, and there's a shallow water line as well, so we'd be concerned that when you start digging down and put in a proper driveway, could
Right.
interfere with that.
But widening it wouldn't be difficult. Okay,
Probably the cheaper option, to be honest.
thank you.
All right, well, is there any other member of council? Well, since there's no other questions, you didn't ask for anything, everything you asked for tonight was approved, so. Thank
Well,
you.
That's, you've set the bar. Now we can just keep going.
Yeah, exactly. I think what you're seeing is a warm response to exploring what this could look like, because it is a much needed, I guess you could say, resource in this community, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
Ms. Davies, I would say, as you know, budget time will start at the end of the summer. So even if you're still kind of not sure what you want, it's better to put in a letter, remind us that you want something. As you mentioned, that you referred to the previous development, well, we kind of know how much roughly that was. It's been no secret. So that'll give you a ballpark to make a formal request, and then we can include it in that process.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Next presentation is from Kevin Simmons, Herring Pub owner, regarding the Market Square and Wharf project. The podium is yours, sir.
Well, I get nervous every time I step up here, so why not?
At least you're not in front of a judge, Mr.
Yeah.
Simmons.
I'd be out of the country. Yeah. I just want to say it's about, the wharf is an economic driver for this town, and we really need to look forward. And we've been working on this project for a long time. So anyways, I'm going to follow exactly what I've said and the importance that I believe. So most people don't know, but in 1997, after the wharf burnt in 1994, it was rebuilt in 1996, and I was on the original wharf board in 96 and spent a lot of time, no vested boats, just understanding the economic importance of the wharf, or the wharf. We were on the board that set the bylaws, the fees. We did a lot of the background work, realized that we were the first wharf in Canada that was privately owned, caused a major headache, spent a lot of our time in the U.S. looking how to set up bylaws and so on. So then again, that was 97, stayed on the board for a very long period of time. And then in 2015, was tasked by the town to chair, ended up be the chair, didn't want the chair, but an advisory board to the wharf board for town council in 2015 and 16. In that, we had to ask the town for some money. And anyways, long and the short is, I know the town has received, I've sent it along, but it was the Cormier report that came out of the oversight committee to send to the town. It was about the management of the wharf. Either dump the wharf, ask for a privately owned company to come in and take over the wharf. But in the end, we had a management structure set up where a committee responded to the town with the wharfinger on it. Anyways, it was a full oversight. And then we provided discussion points back to the town from the report. But what I want to talk about specifically in the report, it was the structural integrity of the Market Wharf. And there was a lot of work done in 2015 to slow down corrosion of the H-piles and cathodic protection of the wharf. But discussion with the engineering firm, which just completed the cathodic protection, indicated that the structural integrity of the head of the wharf was success at the time. They concluded with the addition of cathodic protection, this section of the wharf should be capable of handling fuel trucks and tour buses for the next 15 years. CMC recommends that a long-term maintenance plan had been developed for the Market Wharf and that the wharf structures be inspected every 2 years to reconfirm appropriate weight loads and to reset priorities for the maintenance plan. So they're saying in 2015 that we should have had 15 more years. I think we put the weight load restrictions on the wharf long before COVID, and it was probably only 3 or 4 years after this report, when the report stated that we should get 15 years from 215, but by 220, we're already under the weight restrictions on it, right? So I've also provided the council, if anybody wants it, they can get it from council. It's the St. Andrews Wharf Steering Committee report to council. I've also provided that report to council. So, and then that's with our recommendations to council based on that report. So the next one I want to talk about, and it's specifically about the economic importance of whale watching to the town. So in 2018, there was a big talk about significantly increasing the fees and making boats pay for the majority of the wharf use, right? So John had presented, Eldridge, God love him, but he presented the town about the indirect income coming from whale watch boats. So, and I've also provided this document to the town, so it's worth a read because we had it because we were on the wharf board. But it states that it exceeds, so Toronto Direct Whale Watch in St. Andrews exceeds 1.5 million using the 1.38 multiplier. And that comes from, just so everybody knows, it comes from the International Fund for Animal Welfare. They did a massive study in 2009. I've also sent that because it's a great reading for you. Councillor Neal said that he had already seen it and was aware of the document, but I bet you most people aren't aware of the document. But anyways, I sent it to Paul today. Paul filed it off. It's a great reading document. Take your time, read it, understand it, the importance in it. It's about being eco-friendly and so on and so forth. So anyways, usually, and then, so the IFAW added a 1.38 multiplier to it in general. So indirect sales to the town is $2.07 million, but John at the time felt that we were on above scale about that because of where we are and who we are. And there was a $3 million in direct and indirect economic activity that benefits to the town. In addition to the indirect sales, the vast majority of operating expenses for the tour boats, such as salaries, wage, fuels, insurance, maintenance, administrative services, supplies, catering, office rent, and property tax. Remember, that is all dumped back into the community. So part of the 1.5 million, you also receive that. So what I did is, since it was a 2018, of course, I'm extremely bored. I looked up the Consumer Price Index, the CPI, and I did a CPI from 2018 to 2024, added up all the years, also have it, it's a document that I left on you guys' desk. It's the first document tonight, and it worked out 21.4%. So if we do a 21.4%, an estimated CPI, it's around $3.6 million of direct and indirect economic benefit for the town. I say that because, again, we need to do something with the wharf. Something has to be done. We all know that. I have another article. I sent the link to you guys as well. It's Pointe de Chêne. So Pointe de Chêne just did a massive overhaul of their wharf, berm specifically, 17-foot berm, and some of it, rock and stone, inland. $10.5 million, just opened in May of this year. They suffered a lot more damage on Fiona than we did. So anyways, the government stepped in. I provided pictures of the berm walls and so on and so forth. But I just want to talk about the fact that they receive between 250 and 300,000 visitors to that area every year. You know, it probably dwarfs the number of people that we have on our wharf, but it's a significant number, and the only way that they feel they could alleviate the problem through their engineers was going to a berm wall to protect the inner harbor where the boats sit and to protect the Shediac. If you've ever been there, Pointe de Chêne covers a little cove where boats go in as well. So they've also built a secondary berm wall or protection or a wave break on the outside of that as well. And I provided the pictures and the documents that I dropped off on your desk today. Another article I wanted to talk about. So we all talk about, so if everybody was completely bored, they would have read this article, February 7th, 2025 of this year. St. Andrews Mayor may restore a Campobello mudflat to get the town wharf rebuilt. So in this, we talked about remediation and so on and so forth, but and I know it's been cited that Sam Andrews for the Ducks Unlimited, he was brought in as a biologist to help figure out where we can get it and where can we remediate. And, you know, we all want it to be on this side of the bay, and we also want it to be in our town, but sometimes things don't happen. Mud flats are probably the most difficult marine habitat to compensate, he said, but they're rare and can't be built. We're giving up a 4,000 square meter tidal flat if we do this infill berm, just say. But if we look at the Campobello project, ripping down a dam that has allowed a lot of sediment into a salt marsh, the same article said it would turn 21,800 square meters, where essentially nothing can live, back into a mud flat and a salt marsh fish habitat, said the biologist. So, and I'm only citing the article. I've sent the article to you guys. It's good for you to read. I know it's a little late. Also in the same article, it was from Matt Habit, the Marine Program Director and Fun Day Baykeeper with the Conservation Council of New Brunswick, likes the St. Andrews offset idea. An environmental watchdog on his Fun Day Baykeeper doesn't have any major concerns about the plan either. Matt Abbott said the muddy area near the St. Andrews Wharf supports a lot of life, even when the tide is out, and some of it going to be covered with fill is an important project for the wharf to be rebuilt. It's a good idea to do something for good habitat elsewhere. He considers Campobello part of the Passamaquoddy Bay community. Ideally, though, he said mitigation, I mean, you want it to be last, but it's a possibility, and that's the reason I bring this up. I also talked with, again, I was super bored and made quite a few phone calls. In 2015, the federal government did a huge federal subsidy for wharves in this area, specifically Maces Bay, Back Bay, Dipper Harbor. There was 11 projects worth $22.7 million. So I decided to call Larry Cook. Larry Cook, if anybody knows him, which you probably don't, but he is the wharfinger and the chair of the wharf committee in Back Bay. They built a brand new marginal wharf down in Back Bay, stone aggregate for the first portion, and then a wharf head for the second. They needed it for commercial traffic because we no longer do it here, of course. So like a lot of people just moved to that wharf to deliver feed. You know, we used to do all of that here at one time, and we all got money from it. It was an income source for the wharf. Anyways, I had to shoot the shit with Larry. Anyways, and I was asking him about sediment specifically, and so what they did, they built that, and they had a small breakwater that added some stone to it. They were supposed to make it a lot larger, and in the end, they didn't. But I said, Larry, since 2015, have you had any increase with your sediment? Because they dredged the harbor out. And he said, there's been no sediment return to the harbor. So, you know, I said, what would you consider, Larry, since you've been around the water for 59 years? He also lives in the cove facing the wharf. Is there any, what would you say about the St. Andrews Wharf, right, and the harbor? And he said that he believed, and of course he's not an expert, but he's been on the water a majority of his life, and he's been on the wharf board, is that he figured the currents in the area were similar to ours. I mean, he couldn't say for sure. Nobody can say for sure until if we did an environmental impact, but, you know. And I was asking about seaweed accumulation, and he said seaweed accumulates in the harbor in some areas, but when the winds change and the tide comes back in, it tends to take all the seaweed and that back out of the harbor. I know we all don't like the smell of rotting seaweed, but anyways. And the other thing that was a really good chat, and it's also in the reports from the Cormier report and other, and the town should consider this anyways, is a suggestion from Larry was to take over the mooring field and organize it immediately. 2 minutes. I don't have that. Okay, we're going to skip. Had a nice chat with Roger McNabb, the Commodore. Asked about the Ironstone 10 years ago. I got a lot to cover. I'm going to have to skip some. Anyways, and I asked him about the yacht club and see if they were for the current design, and he said 100% yes. We'll skip that. We'll skip that. I just want you to all look back at the survey back in 2024 and 23 and refer back to those surveys and what was chosen by the majority of people that showed up, 190 people. Their voices should be heard, Shamcook Bayside. Anyways, we'll skip the burn wall part. And okay, quick questions. What delay does this pose to the square before extensive damage to the town? What delay? Oh yes, does. What delay does this pose to the square before extensive damage done to the town square is done? And then if for some reason tonight it's killed, can the town borrow on their own if the project must be done in an immediate fashion with 3 levels of government? And then question that was already done. We'll skip that one because I'm running out of time. Anyways, so A, town has had hard input from our community. Town has done a lot of work. 2020, we had 3 designs come up, and then with the plan somewhat passed, but it never moved forward. And then again in 2023, we had 5 designs come back because we had a Bayside and Shamcook. And the overwhelming support was for the hybrid infill. What the town has to do tonight, town either votes for or against this project tonight and moves forward with the project or develop a plan B pronto for fall work to commence. The next thing the town should have to do, no matter what, for or against, I see it as a must. The town strike a steering committee immediately with Councillor Neal or Ware or any other councillors or residents that have knowledge in this area. I looked up Daryl Weir, in case nobody knows who he is. He's on LinkedIn, just so y'all know. But he's probably the most knowledgeable person sitting in the room for wharves. Daryl said from August of 2008, December of 22, he was the chief operating officer of the Bayside Wharf for 14 years. And then he's also been a consultant from 1996 to present. The guy knows what he's talking about. Yeah, sorry. Okay, anyways, I had some other stuff I'm gonna say. I'm clearly not gonna get in it. But doing nothing is not an option at this point. I'd also like to say, I'd like to know where all of these people that are opposing it and have a chatter about it, where they were in the fall of 2023 when we had our first open house here. The 3 different things that were offered. We did an open house here, we did an open house in Bayside, and we did an open house back here. And then in the spring 2024. I'd just like to thank council for all their current work and future work on this. And the only other quick thing I want to say is that, again, I was super bored. Vicky Hogarth, January 15, 2024. On Monday night, Town of St. Andrews Council unanimously voted to go ahead with the hybrid infill steel pile wharf out of a 5 concept option for the wharf version, the climate change and coastal erosion. Council had 3 highly attended public consultations, and the majority of the cost will be funded by the federal and provincial governments, but the town will take on a significant portion of the cost, and then they have the breakdown of costs. The only other thing you got to consider is it might be not our generation that has to deal with climate change, but I guarantee the next generation will have to deal with climate change.
Thank you very much, Mr. Simmons. Appreciate the presentation. And I don't know if in my 9 years I've ever seen you in the council chambers to present.
Never.
No, so that'll tell you how fired up you are about this
No.
project.
Yeah.
I want to remind council that you're not here to debate Mr. Simmons tonight. You'll have a chance to debate each other. But with that being said, if you had any questions specific to the presentation, I'll open up the floor. Councillor Heenan.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Mr. Simmons, very much for the presentation. Mr. Simmons, you speak about being on the wharf board for a long period of time, and you speak about economics and environment. On your time on the board, did you ever come across an EMO emergency plan for the wharf that we as a town sit on a peninsula, and the wharf serves as an emergency evacuation point for the town and for the residents of Passamaquoddy Bay, and it should be vehicle accessible. Did you ever see that?
No,
No.
not in my time.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gumichel.
Thank you, Worship. Thank you, Kevin, for coming forward and speaking on this contentious issue about all these people. I know it's a bit nerve-wracking. In your discussion, you mentioned many times about being on the wharf board. And I remember at the last meeting sitting here thinking, you know, geez, too bad we didn't have a wharf board anymore, because we could really use a unified voice. And it's too bad, like when we raised the when we wanted to raise the price per seat on the whale watchers, we heard lots from the whale watchers, but I don't know about other councillors, but I haven't heard a ton from any of the operators or any kind of unified voice of the wharf users in the last while. So definitely people like I stood with Greg Beckerton and Commodore McNabb at the public consultations a number of times and discussed with people, but that we're really missing that wharf board voice, like where people hash things out. And we have so many experts in town on wharves. Joey Garnett comes to mind. Councillor Weir comes to mind, yourself with all your experience. So out of this, if nothing else, we certainly need to have a better management system for the wharf, because I grew up down there, but I don't know a ton about wharves exactly, and we're in this spot to make these decisions without without maybe all the input that is available in our community. So thank you, Kevin, and call for the Wharf Board to resurrect itself. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Gubichel. Councillor Harlan.
Thank you, Mayor Henderson, and thanks, Kevin, for the presentation. Can you just clarify for me what happened to the Wharf Board? Why did it?
So who really knows?
I don't mind taking that one and taking out this one. It actually got to a situation where multiple members resigned. There was conflict within the Wharf Board.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And
So it wasn't a decision of council to disband the Wharf Board?
I think it could have been put back out and new members could have been brought back on. I served well over 15 years on the first board, and
Okay.
it was contentious as hell because we put fees on the users, and that was really bad. But, everybody has to pay their fair share. But when we were on the advisory board and the Cormier report, and I think you need to take the time
Yeah.
to read that report, those were the recommendations come how to steer the wharf forward.
Okay, thanks.
And just on that, Councillor Harlan, and I think I know where your question's getting to, council will have to debate, maybe bringing a Wharf Board back. Whatever happens with this project, and we're going to debate it, whatever goes ahead, because something has to happen, is going to cost a lot of money. Someone has to pay for that. So there is going to be a discussion, I won't be part of it, where council's talking about what the wharf fees are for everybody. And I think it's important to have a unified voice at the wharf, where you have individuals that are acknowledging that it's an expensive asset, but there's an official voice to go back and forth and have some constructive dialogue. So I think that's what your question's kind of hinting at what the future looks like. Yeah. Any other member of council? Councillor Neal.
Oh, I knew this was coming.
Thank you, Mr. Simmons. I'll give you a little bit of warning, but
Yeah, I'm going to chat.
just a couple comments, I guess. One of the things you mentioned was, again, obviously you've done a lot of research on this, which is very impressive. But you did mention that you have not talked to any experts on sedimentation or the flow patterns in the harbor. And that is one of the points that I've been bringing up numerous times, because unfortunately neither have we. It is definitely an oversight. But we have not had that expert consultation. Now, again, I have worked in the marine environment for almost 30 years myself. And I did take it upon myself to consult with a few local experts, some of whom are, again, world-leading oceanographers and a sedimentologist from the Bedford Institute of Oceanography. And both of them raised grave concerns, again, about the amount of erosion, sedimentation that's going to happen with pretty much any type of project that comes out 90 degrees like this does. And again, covering the amount of environment that it's actually infilling. I do agree with you 100%. Doing nothing is not an option. Again, I think some of my comments come across that I don't want to do anything, but again, that's clearly not the case. We definitely have to do something. I've stressed it a few times that I don't think this is naturally, or unfortunately, this isn't the best option for the town. The one question I did want to ask you was basically, and I think I asked you earlier, if we had that other option of an option that protected Market Square, again, prevented any shoreline erosion, and repaired the wharf to the point where we no longer had the weight restriction, all for less money than what this project's listed as, would that be something that you would be interested in hearing?
100%. Like, we need to do something.
Right.
We all know we need to do something. I'm for the burn because that's what the greater amount of people voted for in our surveys when we had the open houses. And honestly, I can't believe, because I know it's been this council twice, and I'm going to point at you all again, is that this is twice you've beaten it down the path. You beat it down the path in 2018, 2019 to move into the 2020. In 2021, you brought up 3 infill berm, steel pile, beat it down the path, no funding, let's start again. Now you're beating it down the path again, and it gets frustrating.
Absolutely.
The wharf is falling, or the front of the Market Square is falling in, the wood and the cribbing is gone. There's always the sinkhole in front of Island Quest. We have flooding from both sides. We have flooding up. I've provided all the pictures for you guys from Fiona on a good day. And we need to look at doing something. And you just can't Sooner or later, there's not going to be any money there, so the town is going to have to assume the responsibility on their own.
Right.
Where do you guys want to go? But what the town has to discuss, and it has to happen, either way, don't care. You should work on a good, solid steering committee to look at the whole project, to look at the head of the wharf, to look at everything is open in the scope.
Right. I agree with you completely on that point. Yep.
That's part of the time I lost, and I just got it back.
You're welcome.
You pre-planned that.
Right.
Another question?
But that was just, no, I just wanted to clarify again, because
Yes.
to your point about the steering, or the open house that we did, again, what I just mentioned, that option of refurbishing this wharf was never presented.
So what
So-
we talked about, and what it was when funding was available, and funding was only available on the second round if we dealt with climate change. So option number one, which is in your actual thing, was doing identically what this wharf was. And if you're bored and you want to look it up, it's in here. But it was option one, and it was $5.367 million. The problem is with the renovations that always was the hiccup was the fact that we had to close a whole tourist season for two of the options, and one didn't meet climate change. So it left us down to two options. So do we really want to stop whale watching for the summer with no active plan, or move it out of here? And maybe then they just don't come back. Maybe they're happy in Back Bay. Maybe they're happy in Beaver Harbor. Maybe they're happy in Blacks Harbor, and say, you know, we really don't need to go back to the St. Andrews Wharf. Is the importance of whale watching and the extra revenue that not only comes from whale watching, but that also comes from the indirect sales that benefits the whole bloody town and the community.
Just to clarify, though, what I just mentioned as an option
Hey.
was never presented. It wasn't
No.
one of those options. The
No.
one you're referring to was a full
Yes,
rebuild
full-blown.
of the wharf.
Yep.
That's not what I'm suggesting. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other member of council? All right, I just wanted to say thank you very much, Mr. Simmons. As I think Councillor Gumichel indicated, getting up and talking on such a topic isn't an easy thing to do. So appreciate you being here and being well prepared and presenting that information. Thank you.
All right.
All right, so we're getting into the approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. This is the minutes of the 25:05:05 regular meeting of council on Monday, May 5th, 2025, 6:30 PM. Could I have a mover to approve those minutes? I've got Councillor Heenan and seconded by Councillor Blanchard. Saw it online. Any changes to these minutes? Seeing none, all in favor of approving these minutes, please signify by saying aye. Those have been carried. The next minutes are the 25:05:20 regular council meeting on Tuesday, May 20th, 2025, 6:30 PM. Once again, looking for a mover. I've got Deputy Mayor Akaji and seconded by Councillor Bennett. Any changes to these minutes? Seeing none. Oh,
Just a minor change.
okay, thank you.
On,
Oh, microphone, please.
sorry. Page 14 of, well, I guess it's 42 of 132. It says that in my comments that I asked for bags for the open door food program. It's just a minor thing, but it's for the food banks, not for the open door. The open door just is, you know, the cards. So just a minor tweak, not a big major thing.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. We'll call that a friendly amendment. All in favor of approving those minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those have been carried. We are jumping into staff reports. Mr. Spear, the floor is yours.
Your worship, you have to go to communications first. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Getting way ahead of myself there. Under communications, thank you for that, Mr. Nopper. We do have a staff report from Explore St. Andrews. It does break down the activities of Explore St. Andrews. It is available at Town Hall if anyone would like it, but it talks about what they're doing with the province, video collaboration, CTV, a U.S. radio ad, the Welcome Center, and they're working on a potential conference for 2026. A little bit of an update on festivals and events and other meetings in which they attended. So if anyone would like any more additional information on Explore St. Andrews, of course, you can reach out to Sally Leggett directly herself, or again, stop by Town Hall and a copy of this report can be printed off for you. The other one is certainly a significant achievement. I received a letter from Tony Kolbiski, who is the CAMA president. And for those of you that don't know who CAMA is, I'd be impressed if you did. It's the Canadian Association of Municipal Administrators. It reads, Dear Mayor Henderson, The Long Service Recognition Awards program of the Canadian Association of Municipal Administrators is dedicated to honoring and celebrating the dedication of our members to public service and municipal management, a cornerstone priority of our association. These awards are based on the duration of full-time paid employment in municipal government, specifically in management roles such as a chief administrative officer or those reporting directly to them. Recognition is granted at the 10-year mark and subsequently in 5-year intervals. This year, it is our privilege to acknowledge the commitment of your Chief Administrative Officer, Chris Spear, for his remarkable 20 years of service in municipal government management roles. Chris's dedication to his role has undoubtedly contributed to the advancement of your municipality, and we are pleased to recognize his achievements. So, Mr. Spear, on behalf of the council and the town of St. Andrews, I just wanted to say thank you for your 20 years of service. It is greatly appreciated. And Chris, I know you attended an awards luncheon at an annual conference. Did you get a watch at least?
No, just a pin, Your Worship.
Just a what?
Just a pin.
Just a pin.
It's not elected officials conference, it's a workers conference.
All right. Well, I hope you and your family enjoy that pin.
Wait, this was your last night, right?
Exactly. Exactly. And on that, for the thanks from us, it's time for the staff report.
Council, after several rainy days and cold temperatures in May, we look forward with hope to more sun and higher temperatures. As summer approaches, we are continuing plans for summer events and the influx of tourists. Following is a summary of the ongoing initiatives of the Council and staff of the town of St. Andrews. Under Council, a couple of weeks ago, we started to talk about finalizing the wharf design, but Council put a design on the whole project to determine if you want to move ahead or just repair the existing and manage its deterioration year by year. However, we have received several letters of support from the local community to proceed with the project, including from those directly affected. The longer we postpone the project, the more likely we would go into next summer to complete it. We hope to issue the tender to determine the final financial feasibility of it. As requested, we were able to get quotes from another consultant on both the additional inspection and the possibility of modeling the changes to the current related to the infill. With the previously announced resignation of Mayor Henderson, there are a couple of needed motions tonight. The first is to appoint Deputy Mayor Akaji as the new acting mayor, and we should have a new deputy mayor elected as well to ensure the ongoing business of council can be continued if the mayor is unavailable. Like the appointment of the deputy mayor at the beginning of your term, there will be an open election tonight for that position. In addition, we need to amend the banking agreement to reflect the new signatories. Last week, Council continued to meet on the initial draft of the zoning bylaw prior to being released to the public. It was a great session as individual councillors brought up concerns and suggested amendments. The planners are going back to take back those suggestions, edit this current draft, and bring it back to Council for your acceptance before going through the public consultation process. Under administration, we have filled all our summer staff positions who have either already started or will begin over the next couple of weeks. We add 20 seasonal employees to provide services such as the museum, upside down, the wharf visitors center, and day camp attendants. But about a third of these positions are funded by other levels of government, reducing the cost to the taxpayers. It is a time of transition for the town, as in addition to Mayor Henderson's departure, the Youth Center's Debbie Lord retired in May, and Sandy Alfred will be finishing up in June to pursue other opportunities. However, we have 2 experienced staff members hired as we welcome Amanda Harrington and Abby Maxfield, who will continue to do great work there. At the start of May, members of council and staff attended the annual bike rodeo at Vincent Massey Elementary School to witness the children being shown bike safety and given a chance to show their driving skills. I wish to acknowledge longtime attender Lisa Gasky of the St. Andrews Kiwanis Club and for their financial support of the events, the St. Andrews Age-Friendly Committee who donated bicycles as prizes, and the RCMP who participated in the event. After driving from St. Andrews to Montreal and again to Halifax this past week, I can attest that construction season is in full swing across the eastern provinces. In the town, work has begun in the Thomas Avenue area and then will quickly switch to Carlton Street off of Harriet. A separate in-ground project along Prince of Wales should begin shortly, as it was awarded the same night as it previously mentioned. While both projects will tie up traffic, a lane will be left mostly open for the duration of the projects, or detours will be set up. Under services, we have added a second bylaw enforcement officer for the next few months to provide 7 days a week coverage. The goal is not to generate significant revenue, but to help manage the number of vehicles parking illegally throughout the community. Staff continues to primarily issue warnings, but are recording license plates to keep track of repeat offenders. The second round of water bills have been issued and went off mostly without a hitch. I will remind our customers that the due date is July the 4th, so there's just over a month to pay it. The new system is much more efficient and accurate than our previous manual entries that raised the possibility of entry errors. We still have a significant amount of older gallon meters that we are looking to replace over the next several months. Utility staff will be in touch with those affected. In most cases, it can be done quickly by staff with minimal interruption to the household service. We wish to thank those who were put on a boil order a few weeks ago in the Princess Royal and Water Street area. Unfortunately, due to older pipes and frost heaves, these types of isolated breaks are becoming more common. Once water flow is interrupted, the regulations require the operator, which is the town, to issue a boil order to affected residents. The Recreation Department is all prepared for Canada Day and is preparing the poster for distribution over the next 2 weeks. In addition, they are partnering with Huntsman Aquarium for Pirate Fest later in the summer. New events are being added for that festival, including trivia night, a magic show, and cardboard boat races in Katie's Cove. More information will follow. With the abundance of wet weather in May, Public Works has fallen behind on their normal outside activities, but have been focusing on facility and equipment maintenance. They have been putting on the rain gear and tackling what they can when the weather allows. A reminder, the leaf pickup program has ended until the fall, and any remaining bags should be included with your residential garbage. However, the large limb program continues the last Friday of every month until October, but by appointment only by calling Town Hall. The wharf has swung into full season again. We increased the budget for repairs in 2025 and have completed additional repairs like renovating the railings, removing kelp growth off the floating docks, and repairing the pump that pushes bathroom waste to the main in Water Street. We also are struggling with more demand on our berthing spaces as new boats are asking for space. I wish to thank the local volunteers who again staged a free tax clinic for those who qualified at the Ross Memorial Museum. 166 returns were completed this year. The Summer Reading Club will also be kicking off again this year, as it is a key initiative for one of the summer students. This is a great opportunity for elementary school kids to maintain their literacy skills, as the school break can cause summer slide, a known issue where students can lose up to 3 months of learning. In conclusion, although there are less than a year left in Council's current term, there are still few projects you have before you, including the wharf, municipal plan and zoning bylaw updates, as well as the 2026 budget. Focus over the next few months will be bringing these to near conclusion by the end of March. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank Mayor Henderson for both his role as a councillor and then as a mayor. In addition to his great support of the community, he has been a prime example of how the relationship between council and staff should be. He values our experience, but was not afraid to ask tough questions and provide valuable insight. In an era when the relationship between some other councils and senior staff make the news for the wrong reason, our Monday morning meetings are always a pleasure as we worked as a team to move the town forward. Staff are also happy to be working with Deputy Mayor Akaji moving ahead, a long-time supporter of staff with an intense passion for the people of St. Andrews over her multiple terms. The community will be in great hands. We anticipate continued success over the remaining 11 months as council continues the work of the community. Respectfully submitted, Chris Spear, CAO Treasurer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Spear. Appreciate it, and the kind words, even though I can no longer do compensation reviews for you, so you really met that one. So thank you for that. But Council, do you have any questions regarding any of the staff reports or the financial statements that are contained within your council packages? Okay, I'm seeing none this month, so with that, I'll be looking for a motion to accept the staff reports as presented. To Councillor Harlan and seconded by Councillor Bennett, all in favor of accepting the staff reports, please signify by saying aye. Those have been accepted. Thank you. All right, we are jumping ahead now to the introduction, consideration, and passing of bylaws and motions. I'll pass it over to Councillor Harland.
Thank you, Mayor Henderson. This is reference number PCD 250603, and the subject is Assessment Planning and Appeals Board Tribunal Request for Judicial Review on file GRU versus PAC decision on 298 Water Street, Donovan Law. The background is as follows. On April 4th, 2025, Town Staff, Regional Service Planning Commission planners, and the Planning Advisory Committee Chair participated in an Assessment Planning and Appeals Tribunal regarding a decision on file GRU versus PAC decision on 298 Water Street for Donovan Law. Upon completion of the tribunal and receipt of their decision in May 2025, the tribunal overturned the decision of the PAC. The decision has been reviewed by staff, planners, and legal. It is recommended, based on their decision, that the town should move forward with a judicial review at the Court of King's Bench, as this decision has multiple effects on the current zoning bylaw. To start the process, council needs to have a formal motion to move forward for judicial review. The motion is as follows, that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews approves staff to move forward with a judicial review at the Court of King's Bench based on the April 4th, 2025 Assessment Planning and Appeals Tribunal decision of file GRU versus Town of St. Andrews Planning Advisory Committee and Donovan Law at 298 Water Street, and I so move.
Thank you. I'll be looking for a seconder for that motion. I've got Councillor Heenan. Discussion. Seeing none, I will call the question. Okay, go ahead.
Excuse me, Your Honor. Thank you. This is directed to staff. Staff, do we have an idea on what the proposed review of this would cost the town?
Through your worship, from the information from our legal, it can range anywhere between $3,000 and $6,000.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? I'll call the question then. All in favor of approving this motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And I can't see Councillor Hurdle because Councillor Blanchard's dominating the screen. Is anyone opposed? Not seeing anything, so I'll say that that was unanimous. Thank you. And we will jump ahead to the next one, which is Deputy Mayor Akaji. I do want to say that I will be using the procedural bylaw. I did talk to Deputy Mayor Akaji before. She'll be chairing this motion. I have some things I want to say that I would say it would limit my ability as chair, so I will be, technically speaking, entering debate on this particular motion. So, Deputy Mayor Akaji, I'll push the gavel over to you, and the floor is yours.
But because I'm taking the chair, I am asking Councillor Heenan to accept my portfolio for the first two. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Worship and Deputy Mayor. Reference number FA 250632, Market Wharf and Market Square Tinder Package Stage. The Town of St. Andrews is prepared to move forward with the Market Wharf and Market Square project for the tendering phase. At this time, engineered drawings are complete. DFO is moving through the final steps of Campobello offsetting project. Council has completed 5+ years of public consultation, surveys, and discussion on the design of the project. Staff were asked to review additional options for repair study and wave studies. Please see the attached reports for the details. To not interfere with the tourism season for 2026, the town has to tender the project in June, with a review and final decision in July, August, with the start date of October 2025. The goal is to complete the project in May of 2026. Council can still reject the tender package if it is beyond the budget of council and the funding partners. Based on the information provided, Council needs to decide if you are moving forward with the tendering of Market Square or Market Square project or not. The motion before us is that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews authorizes the tendering of the Market Wharf and Market Square project. And I, your worship, so move this.
Thank you, Councillor Heenan. We need a seconder, Councillor Bennett. Any discussion, Council?
Yes, Deputy Mayor.
Mayor?
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor, and once again, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I'm a little rusty. It's been quite a few years since I've entered a debate at this council table, but this is an extremely big decision, and I wanted to make sure that I had a voice at it. To start, I know that council is not unanimous on this. That is perfectly okay. That's what democracy is all about. I will say, though, that this decision originally was made in January, so it's been a year and a half. I'd like to hope that debate tonight is somewhat pointless. And I'm saying that because by now you should have properly reviewed all the documentation. You should have checked your sources. You should have brought forward any of the sources you had. And you should, at this point, talk to the people you trust in the community to make the decision that you feel is best for the future of St. Andrews. And with that being said, I do want to say that it is completely okay to disagree. I think that that's a lost art today in the world right now. When people disagree, they think you need to attack each other. And I think everybody around this table is doing what they think is best for this community. So, council, it is completely okay to disagree on this. I do want to say, though, that maybe it's just by still trying to be mayor, I do want to pitch a compromise this evening. But I'm going to save that to the end. Just to start off, I will honestly tell you, council, that in my 9 years on council, maybe in my entire career, this project has been actually the most frustrating that I've ever dealt with. This project, as indicated throughout the evening, has been years to get over this point. Over 5 years. It predated this council. In January of 2024, council unanimously, after public consultation, chose the hybrid infield steel pile combination. This aligned with extensive public consultations. We even extended them again, so we want to make sure that the people of Shamcook and Bayside, since they were new residents, we even had them weigh in, and that was also the number one option they chose. So after the public chose it, and then after council chose it, the truth is, once it was announced, and I know that Mr. Simmons indicated that, even Vicky Hogarth posted on social media, it was reported on CTV, the list goes on, CBC, CHCO. This council, what we heard was crickets. We actually heard hardly anything at all. It was quiet. And then the project eventually got delayed for a year. And when it got delayed for a year, you know what we heard? Crickets. We heard crickets. Like, people weren't saying, hey, this is my concern, that's my concern. Maybe on your Facebook wall, I don't know, but there was not people writing to council to give us regular updates on their concerns. And even in January, we had a vote about rehabilitation by a vote of 7-2. It was still relatively quiet. It was just this last month that we actually start getting feedback when we had already incurred costs, and I'll talk about those. When we were at the end of the wire for funding, that's when people started to come forward. And again, what changed this last month? I will say again, this was covered multiple times by CHCO. It was on CTV, CBC, CBC Radio, The Telegraph, countless council meetings. It was in town mail-out saying this project was happening. This wasn't a surprise. This wasn't a surprise at all. So the truth is there hadn't been an overwhelming amount of letters, even just up until last week. There had only been a few. In fact, there have been more letters of support for this project over the last month, up until the last couple of days, than letters against. But I kind of felt that council 2 weeks ago was really at a crossroads. We were kind of confused, we were hesitating, and I asked myself, why all of a sudden was council hesitating? And there wasn't an overwhelming, and again, some councilors had concerns. They were very consistent, but overall, as a whole, it was moving ahead. So I asked myself what really changed, and what I actually think happened is social media. You got on social media, you saw the online petition, and it made you second guess, and that's okay, but I do want to bring something to your attention for future debates that's really, really important for everyone to understand. Mr. Knopper, do you have a slide? I'm not saying anyone that did this obviously was part of the opposition, but I think it's important to know how social media works. Just give him a second here to bring it up. Thanks. Now, while he's bringing it up, Is everybody here familiar with what a sponsored ad is? Does everybody know what boosting a post is? What this means is when you bring something on social media, it'll say sponsorship right under it. If you have a concern, something that you want in the community, you can actually sponsor it. You can pay money to get engagement. On the second slide, Mr. Knopper, when you actually pay to get a post, look at the bottom one. It says get more engagement. You can pay Meta to basically use an algorithm to get likes. You can get it to get comments. You can get it to get shares. So where this gets distorted for me is some of the people that like and share this stuff, they're legitimate. Some of them are algorithms of people that don't even live in this community. You can get 100 likes, and that's roughly what the biggest post got. If you want to get 200 likes, you know what you do? You put more money down, and guess what Meta does? It gets you to 200 likes. I once did it for my job. I do it all the time. I had 400 likes on a paid ad. Guess how many tickets I sold to the event? 12. How many letters until the last week did you actually get in opposition to this? 3? 4? It wasn't very many. My point is just be aware that what you see on social media can be bought. So don't make all your decisions based on that. The petition, I understand it's coming in. I haven't seen everyone that signed it. I know that there's really great residents that are concerned about that, but I don't have the address of where everyone lives. It's very easy when you see a petition that says stop the destruction of the Sanders waterfront to be concerned and sign that. But if you're not paying for it, I don't have the same amount of stakeholder engagement I do as people who live by it or are having to pay by it. So, Council, all I'm saying is when you have these online marketing campaigns, you have to be aware of them because they're going to become a bigger and bigger thing in influencing the way that council and democracy works going forward. I also wanted to add on that I've had to be your voice as mayor, obviously the last 4 years, but my job as mayor was the project you selected. Whether I liked it or not, my job is to actually be the voice for it. It's to actually speak for it. Even if I don't actually support an option, it's my job to communicate it and support it. I accept what the whole of council is. And the reality is what choice would have I personally picked on this project? The truth is it doesn't matter. You know why? Because I'm more concerned about the process. The community gathered well-attended public consultations and told us their preferred option. We unanimously voted to support that option. Even in January, during remediation, for a vote of 7-2, just this past January, we decided to continue. The petition writer, and I appreciate the fact that they're opposed to it, followed this entire process, and so did others, and they decided not to engage with this community outside of their Facebook walls until the last month. Sure, there was, the posts on social media, there was the posts underneath their debates, but posting on Facebook isn't reaching out. There's no Facebook department for this town that goes and says, let's check this person's wall, let's use that. Facebook, your best option is to reach out to the town. This council has consistently looked at public communication. Even at the last meeting, someone wrote about a fence. Remember they had concerns on their fence? What do? We switched the wording so it didn't impact their property. There has been big and little decisions that this council has changed on. The petition writer just asked last month finally to meet with us, and do you know when we met with them? Within the week. They had a meeting with myself, the CAO, and the clerk. We sat down and we had a conversation. That could have happened a year and a half ago. You would have been in a lot better situation. So I've been asked, I asked why now, why not a year and a half ago, or why when it was even delayed for a year. So what I found out is that, they were trying to work with DFO behind the scenes to get this project rejected, and ultimately the department and their professionals didn't agree. They said that they looked at the project, they had concerns about the remediation, but they didn't have concerns on the tidal flow. They have professionals in that department. They review these projects regularly. So democracy chose this option, you chose it, and what the public needs to know is we've spent almost $500,000 on this project. $400,000 in engineering costs. $400,000 in engineering costs. An additional about $100,000 not staff time. There was legal fees about a private building. They add up. So I'm saying $500,000. So just to put that in perspective, do you know what $500,000 did for this community? It provided 100 people affordable housing. That's what you spent money on already earlier in this council mandate. There's about 100 people living there. That is not a small amount of taxpayer money. So I just want to talk about some of the opposition directly to this project, and then I will get to my compromise that I hope is something that we can move forward on. But I want to put this all out here. I've heard the project changed, and on the next slide, if you jump down, what you're seeing, if you can make that any bigger, I don't know if you can, is the top drawing is the engineered drawings. that you're actually seeing. The bottom, I'll pick it on Vicky tonight, the bottom was the January post that she put in January of 2024. If you scroll down, if you scroll down, you're clearly going to see that the project that you're seeing shared online isn't even this project most of the time. It's the one that the original town council defeated. The only real change in these two drawings is that bottom, the right-hand side, it's more rounded, really, than what it is in the original concept. It's more of a 90-degree angle. The engineers worked with that and rounded it out. So the whole conversation of this project changing since the public engaged, it's simply not true. The other thing I've heard is the remediation of habitat and concerns about it. I would agree that in a perfect world, you don't have to remediate habitat. But I also have to look at everybody, and council included. We've funded several projects, several housing projects that cut down forest, that cut down trees, like extensive. Go to the corner of Mowat Drive and Bar Road. You're going to see a lot more habitat destructed than you are from this wharf project. My question to you is, where was the remediation for that? There wasn't any. At least this time we're acknowledging if we're going to do something to the environment, we should find other habitat for it. And we could talk about erosion. The seas, we're getting more habitat around St. Andrews all the time. There's erosion happening. But in a perfect world, habitat, you don't obviously impact, but we're doing it already. And I do ask myself, is a clam more important than a squirrel or a rabbit? Probably not, right? Forests are important as well. I've heard about flooding and erosion. If you go to the next slide, if this wharf project goes ahead, neighbors are still going to get flooding. You know why? Because they were already getting it. If your walls aren't up to the adaptation plan of the sea level rise, guess what's going to happen with or without this project? You're going to get water. And if you look at the projections, these situations these were from the open letter. These aren't even my photos. These situations are going to happen more and more. So whether this project goes ahead or not, you have to look at climate adaptation and protect your own property. And in that top photo, if you go back to it, what I think that is implied when I read the petition is that the business in the background has caused this. Well, if you go to the next slide, if that property owner never upped their seawall, look at that picture. Their investment would be underwater. If you look at the climate adaptation plan, we are told that we have to grow our seawalls have to rise. And you could all be at the same low point. You know what happens? All of you just flood. So whether this project goes ahead, people are flooding. That's not your neighbor's fault. You have to build your seawall up. And I just wanted to say that basically our engineers, they have a marine division. They worked with DFO. DFO has reviewed this project. They actually said that they do projects like this all the time. If they are substantially larger or more enclosed, they do require the title study. But in this particular case, this is actually quite a standard process that they approve all the time. I'll jump ahead right now and just say that I've been told that I'm misleading about the future of the wharf. Well, there's a weight restriction on the wharf. That's a fact. Certain size vehicles can't go on there. Every 2 years, as Mr. Simmons indicated, we have to go and do an analysis of the weight restriction, right? We haven't done it for 2 years. So guess what we have to do? We have to go do an analysis on the weight restrictions. So I can't make any promises, but all I know is as time goes on and decisions aren't made, the chances of this requiring further weight restrictions are only increasing. And for those of you that need a working wharf, whether you're a tour boat operator that needs to fuel, whether you're fishing, whether you're diving, you need to get to the end of the wharf. Even pleasure boaters, it'd be hard to haul everything back. You need a working wharf. So we all know that we're running out of time in this funding, and I know there's a conversation, we'll just reapply, you might get it again. But we've missed now, if we delay this project, 2 deadlines. 2 deadlines. In the second time, as I said, we spent $400,000 of engineering that the other levels of government have to pay. If you go back to the drawing board and you wasted tax dollars, there's lots of other communities asking for this money. I don't know about you, but I don't gamble with $5.4 million. I think we need to be very real about the fact that there is risk with going ahead and risk with not going ahead. It's important to note that $1 million, is my understanding of this, is going to the old pierhead, not just the approach. Is that correct? So I know we want to talk about just fixing it on our own. Are we going to pay the $1 million for the old Pierhead on our own, plus basically the approach? Like, are we going to spend 1.5 million, 1.4? I know it said 1.8 was the engineering assessment a few years ago. Are we going to put $1.8 million into a wharf that doesn't address climate change, that is aging infrastructure? I just don't know if that's a good investment. So it leads me to all this frustration. In summary, after a very public process, $500,000 in taxpayer funding, this council is now struggling. Despite my feelings, I always, like council, try my best to make the community feel open to bringing forward concerns, whether I like them or not. I know this community won't be unanimous, whatever you decide to do in the future, but as a council, I'm hoping that we can try to get aligned on the commonalities. So I wanted to read a proposal that was obtained for our dedicated staff, and I know I'm getting close in my reading, so I'll give you the summary of it. We have obtained from Gemtech a coastal study for the St. Andrews Market Wharf, and it is for the three main objectives of to simulate sediment transport and project area, that's the berth area, to assess potential shoreline change, and to evaluate water quality in the wharf area. And of course, anyone can get a copy of this, and it gets into the data collection, the review process. In summary, the cost is $25,000. That is about 0.3% of the total project cost. It takes about 5 weeks to do. However, we all know that if you make this decision, they can't go right away. Hopefully they can get within 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So this potentially could be about a 2-month delay. So with that, I got to say that I would much rather potentially delay this project by a couple months than forever impact by assuming that our engineers and DFO measured their concerns properly. So it also gives us a path forward where we aren't gambling with $5.4 million. So to do this, it's going to potentially extend construction a little later of a start, a little later of a completion, but then it answers the questions that people have about the concerns of what it's going to do to the ocean. I would much rather delay it potentially 2 months to find a compromise to make sure we can all go ahead. And council, if it comes back where it's minor, you go ahead with this project. It's the only one you have. And if it comes back with major concerns, you go back to your engineers and say, why would you propose this? And for me, that is what I'm proposing. So I'm proposing to amend the motion to read that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews awards Gemtech the contract for a coastal study on the proposed market wharf. And I'll be looking for a seconder.
Councillor Heenan is seconded. First Mayor, second Councillor Heenan.
Your worship,
Okay. And
Councillor Weir.
Councillor Weir. Sorry.
Thank you, Your Worship. Firstly, I don't have a problem with the project per se. I don't use the wharf. I think any one of the options would work. Just a matter of preference. But I do have some very serious concerns with respect to the financial numbers being put forth. His Worship indicated Gemtech, excellent firm, will give an excellent report. And I think if we should decide to go to tender, we can cut the waiting period down to a few weeks because we could have the tender in our hands maybe before we even got the report from Gemtech, so it wouldn't take that long. But I do have a problem. It started last April when we had the engineers here to discuss the wharf. I asked them about the remediation, and EIA said it was necessary. They said no. Councillor Neal chimed in and agreed with me that it was necessary. Engineers said no, they weren't aware of any problem. So a few months later, we find out, yes, there has to be remediation. I don't think they even were proactive enough to go to DFO and ask if there had to be remediation. Any of us in the industry know that it's a given. That was my first incident where I started questioning things. We did find a remediation project. It seems reasonable. None of us like the fact that it's not within the municipality, but you have to make compromises to make these things work. I did pull out the budget and went through it. Looks reasonable, with a couple of exceptions. As the mayor stated, we have spent over $400,000 in engineering fees. On May 7th, 2025, less than a month ago, CBCL gave us a final cost summary, Class A, which is supposed to be pretty accurate. On that, they put detailed design, geotechnical, marine, and civil engineering and environmental permitting, $343,700. We had already paid them over $400,000. Now, this is less than a month ago. They can't get it right. And then right below that is services during construction, contract administration, and site observation, $400,000. They want another $400,000. Is it going to be the same quality work that we've gotten to date, is my question. Or should we go find somebody who is a proven project manager to make sure this project is put together right? We've got the one chance to do it. We can't afford to do it wrong and then have to go back and do alterations and all kinds of things after it's complete. There's another number in there, design development allowance. Now, that sounds like more engineering fees of $336,000. So, you know, we're looking at over $1 million in services that I'm not comfortable with. I think a lot of the councillors over the last year have expressed a level of discomfort with this this firm, and we've all been hesitant, perhaps because of it. And like I say, I have no problem going to tender, waiting, get the tender, get the Gemtech report. But at the same time, I think we have to seriously look at making sure we have expert project management as the construction goes on. And that was, I just, reading through it, that was what jumped out at me. That's what's been bothering me for a year on the project, and I finally zeroed in on it and isolated what the problem was. So that's all I want to say on it. Like I said, I think we should be going ahead. We can wait for we can be almost ready when Gemtech comes, but how we find somebody who is an expert project manager at this late date concerns me very much. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Your Worship, point of order.
Yeah.
There's actually a motion that's hanging out there, amendment that you've got to address to first.
Okay.
However, it has to be addressed first before the discussion on the original project can go forward. And it's just
So we
not
have
trying
a
to
motion?
stifle anything. We just have, when you make an amendment, that's got to be addressed first before you can continue.
Okay, so it's the mayor's motion on Gemtech? Okay, so we have a motion from the mayor on Gemtech, and we need
Seconded by Councillor
a
Heaton.
seconder by
To-
Councillor Heenan.
to-
So now we don't
No,
have
the
discussion on Gemtech?
discussion on that
On
particular
Gemtech?
motion.
Okay, on that motion with the mayor. Any discussion on that motion from the mayor? Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, Your Worship, Council, and especially, our honored citizens that are here showing their support to whatever side that you choose to support tonight. Reference the Gemtech study. I was fortunate enough to be called by one of the business owners downtown, and I went down to his property, and he basically showed me what he had done, and it was the person who contacted me was Dan Murphy, and I understand that he contacted several councillors. So I went down, I looked at it, and first of all, a lot of you people out there probably don't know who I am, but I'm a fairly new resident of town. This is only my 4th year here. So I wanted to go down and take a look exactly what all the commotion was about, and the Facebook accounts and all those points that were being brought up. So I went down, and Dan kind of explained what he went through. And Paul, Mr. Knopper, can you bring up the picture of the Seasons by the Sea bistro there that was basically surrounded by water again? And the reason why I say this is because that picture is very striking, and it must make, Mr. Murphy just about sick looking at that picture. But for those of you who don't know, part of the deal with the $5.4 million that the feds gave us, we gotta bring the level of the berm up to half a meter. So that brings it up to the 2100 standards that the Government of Canada has directed. Now, the big picture, the one that you had on first there, Paul, was a little more striking. Now, Mr. Murphy, when he rebuilt that building, he brought that up to the 2100 level. So when you look at his deck and know that that's basically the level of the 2100, that puts it in perspective what we're dealing with here. Now, I get it that those storms don't happen every day, but that's a big deal, and that's what we're looking at. And what I'm trying to say is that we can do all the studies we want, especially in June and July, but we all know, anybody who's lived here most of their lives, know that the big storms come in the fall and in the winter. So what I'm trying to say is that we can do all the studies we want on the normal tides in the harbor, but the normal tides in the harbor don't reach those kinds of levels. They don't do damage. They also don't have the strength, I believe, to move a lot of sediment and other debris around like those big storms do. And I don't think you need to be a sedimentologist or anybody else to understand that. I imagine there's thousands of years in this building of citizens that have lived around this wharf and that waterfront. And the other point that was brought up to me was when you look at that corner right there, the front left corner of the bistro, you look sideways and you're looking out over the yacht club. And the yacht club has been around for a few decades. It was a peninsula that was infilled. And if you look at an aerial photo or a Google Earth of that point, it looks very similar to what the wharf will be, except it's much higher in elevation. You also, if you go on Google Earth and you draw a picture that's parallel to Water Street across from the yacht club, across straight in perpendicular to the wharf, you'll see that when you overlay it, it'll be about the same distance out in the bay that the new wharf will be. Now, where I'm trying to get with this is that peninsula was infilled decades ago, and it hasn't caused a lot of destruction. It didn't flood the neighbor's property. It didn't cause a lot of infilling. It didn't cause anything. It was just infilled, and it is what it is. We can infill that ocean as much as we want. The infilling is not going to cause anybody's property to raise, and that's just a fact. You can go down and throw as many rocks in the harbor as you want, which as kids, most of us probably already did, and all them millions and millions of rocks been thrown in the bay, hasn't raised the level of the water. So when it comes to a study, and I really appreciate the fact that you're trying to take into consideration everybody's point of view, Your Worship, and I do believe that is really important. whether you agree or you disagree, I think it's really important that we include everybody. However, because of that picture and that storm, I think that if we're going to do any kind of studies, it needs to be done in the wintertime when those storms are more likely to happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bennett. Any other? Oh, sorry.
You're going to have Councillor Blanchard or Councillor Hurdle. They both have their hands raised. So who would you like to go to first?
Okay. Which one went first?
Councillor Blanchard had his hand first.
Councillor Blanchard, we'll see what you have to say first.
No, I think Councillor Hurdle may have had his hand up first, actually.
Okay, bounce it back. Councillor Hurdle.
That'll be nice.
He's throwing me right under the bus with this one. I would just, I know I don't necessarily need to raise my hand for a point of order, and I just want to ask this respectfully that we either debate the amendment itself as presented or call it to a vote.
Thank you, Councillor Hurdle. Councillor Blanchard.
Yeah, thank you. And on the amendment, just in regards to the addition of Gemtech and the study on Gemtech do get a study of the tidal flow and sedimentation erosion in the harbor. I think that's a great idea. I welcome that. I was happy with staff's work to bring that forward to us to council. I'm happy that the mayor has made that amendment because it answers the one question that has sort of been eating away at me, I guess. It's the one piece of the puzzle that I've been sort of missing and trying to make this decision. And so I'm happy to see that, and I'm very much in support of the amendment as put forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Blanchard. Anybody else? Councillor Harland.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. This is for Mr. Spear. Can you just help me understand the timeline? So if we go with, in terms of the impact, so if we were able to contract with Gemtech to do the study, Mayor Henderson said it was take about 5 weeks.
5 weeks, but there'll be probably a mobilization period. I
Right.
don't know how quick that is, but we can push them as quick as possible. That's why I'd say 2 months to be on the safe side.
So we wouldn't go out to tender until, I'm assuming we wouldn't go out to tender until the Gemtech study had been completed. I just don't know where that puts us in terms of a timeline for the completion of the project if it were to go ahead, because one of the things we were wanting to be very conscious of was minimizing the impact on the users of the wharf next summer.
Thank you, Councillor Harland. I guess I would recommend not going to tender while a study's being done, just simply because there's a lot of work by the proponents that are bidding on it, and it's kind of, you know, if you're looking for a way out because of the modeling exercise, it's probably not fair to put them through all that effort for something till you're sure, because usually tender's the space where you're saying, okay, we want to go ahead unless the budget for this tender is so outrageous that we can't. And so if there's still data to be collected, I think we have to wait till that's done. And so assuming that they can start even next week, that would put us into mid-July for discussion. That we probably put the tender out in early August to the end of August, award in September. If someone's starving to death without any work, they can start in October, but, you know, by that point, every contractor's probably busy, and it might be weeks, depending on, because some of the woodwork requires special specimens of product out of province and stuff, because even though we're replacing the approach, that middle segment that connects the approach to the pier head is still being fixed up, and some of it's with wood, so some of that will have to be ordered and stuff. So I'd be concerned would be a little slow getting started, but let's just say they get started by the 1st of November. That still means we're probably going to be mid to late June finishing the project if everything goes according to plan. And bluntly, not a lot ever goes according to plan when it comes to projects, especially on the shore. I'm sure Councillor Weir can attest to that in his experience.
Thank you, Councillor Harland, and thank you, Mr. Spear. And for anybody else, Councillor Neal.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yeah, with regards to the amendment, I would be in favor of the Gemtech study. I have no issues around the timing of it whatsoever. These guys are expert modelers. They know what they're doing. And the models are done so that they can adjust for things like higher tides, more severe storms. They don't have to be done during those periods. They're more than capable of modeling what could happen. Much like I think we had saw in 2023, we had a presentation by a resident who happens to be present that did just that, showed some of the modeling currents in and around this proposal and the effects that I have talked about several times with regards to erosion and deposition. So as far as the study goes, I have no problem with that. I would still at the same time like to see the repair option. Again, I don't know how many times we've thrown that around, but I guess that's something we can discuss separately.
We can, but there have been, that has been put out in the past, a repair option. We have old reports.
Not by CBCL though.
Yeah.
No, that was a rebuild. That
No.
$9 million option that
No,
Mr.
there
Simmons
was,
talked about
there was
a
repairs to the
rebuild.
wharf and, there's a 5-year plan put out in 2023 was the last version
I'd
of
like
it.
to see that again if I can.
Yep,
please.
no problem.
Thank you, Mr. Spear. Thank you, Councillor Neal. Anybody else? Councillor Heenan.
Yes, Your Worship. Just a point I'd like to make. I'm worried about the timeline. I really am. I don't want to see, as we have mentioned, things never go according to plan. They never follow a time frame. I really feel that we've dealt with this for 7 years. We've passed that we were going to do it. I'm all for, I could be for having the report done, but I'd also like, and I understand, Mr. Spear, what you say, that you can't put out a tender at the same time. The thing is, if we do a tender, it could probably come in too high anyway. So my point is that we're wasting time thinking about postponing time to make it longer. I would be happy with doing the report simultaneously with doing a tender which said, based on the report from Gymtech. Okay. Well, I would be all right with basing a report from them simultaneously with putting a tender out if council would to vote for that, because we have two options. One, the report might come back that will not see the option be able to be done, feasible, and secondly, it might come back at $10 million. Well, either case, we're not going to do it. And so even if we get a positive report from the Gymtech, then we still could end up doing the tender and it come back at a high price. So I just think they should be done together. And then if everything comes about, then it's a go. But that's just my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Heenan. Councillor Neal.
Just again on Councillor Heenan's point, my only concern with that, and again I'll throw this to staff, is that putting a tender out with the clause that we are awaiting a study is probably not going to attract a lot of people. I wouldn't expect a lot of engineering firms to invest the time knowing that a study might squash the whole thing.
Well, it'd be contractors, not engineering firms.
Yeah,
That
sorry.
would be, no, it's all right. And what we say is they'd add that price into it if they awarded it for sure.
Thank you, Mr. Spear. Thank you, Councillor Neal. Are we finished with this? Oh, sorry.
Sorry,
Councillor
just-
Gomichelle?
Thank you, Your Worship. So to Lee's point, it is possible to do them simultaneously.
I wouldn't recommend it, but it's probably possible to do.
Thank you, Mr. Spear, and thank you, Councillor Gomichelle. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion? Councillor Harland?
What's our timeline on the funding? Just clarify for myself and for the public.
So it's starting to get complicated because we're way past the due date when the original funding that was awarded in 2020. So they've allocated so much for this year end, March 2025, fiscal year end of the government, and then so much for March 2026, and it has to be completed, or we'll have to restart the process.
So for council clarification, we can continue doing the project if it's in place and moving forward past the March 2026 deadline, because we're showing we're finishing the project at that point. But basically, it's been told, March 2026, if you haven't done anything, you lose the funding.
Thank you, Mr. Knopper, Mr. Spear, and Councillor Harlan. Does that answer your question?
It does, thank you.
All right, Councillor Heenan.
Well, Your Worship, just have one more question. We don't know if council will pass the tendering process for Market Wharf, so we could do the preliminary without knowing that council's even going to pass it. I mean, I think it's an important fact that
Maybe make an
Councillor
amendment
Spear.
that's dependent on.
Mr. Spear, sorry.
Although, I think, without reading the mayor's mind too much,
That's a
he might have.
dangerous thing.
Yeah, I know. But that maybe you're looking to table the awarding process until the study was done, as I'm assuming.
I am. So contractors incur significant costs when they do projects like this, and in good faith, we should know that we're going ahead of this project. In a perfect world, we do it simultaneously, but the truth is, if I'm a contractor, this may or may not go, I'm not gonna spend as much time on it, so I'm gonna put a big number in for the town to pay, versus say, hey, if it's within this budget, we are going ahead with this, and council, if you do the study and it says there's minimal impacts, you've already made the decision, you're going ahead with this project. At that point, I again, Mr. Spear will check back with you, but I don't know why you incurred another $25,000 if you're not gonna do this project. So if you're gonna do this study, you should be pretty confident that if it comes back favorable, that you're gonna go ahead. Otherwise, what are we talking about, right? So,
Your Worship, that's my concern, that we will spend another $25,000 and then we'll be right back at this site again and not go ahead with the project. I'm all for it if the fact is that if they come back positive, then we're going ahead with the project. There will be no more letters. Well, there can be letters all they want, but we're going ahead with it. This is my point. For us to spend $25,000 more and then all of a sudden we get, I'm just saying, more public pressure for and against, then we debate it again. We have to stop the debate. So I'm for putting the $25,000 forward if the review is positive that we're planning to go ahead with it. That's what I need as an assurance of. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Heenan. Councillor Neal.
And again, just a question for staff on that, then we haven't actually debated the motion of going forward with the project yet, but.
No, we're just trying to debate whether to do the model.
But also, just to clarify for everybody listening here, that the 25K would be covered by the funding partner, correct?
Maybe. It's a little bit out of scope at this point, because it was never included as part of the initial ask.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping, but I can't say yes or no.
So such as the 400K that we have already spent, we heard about earlier, that was covered by the funding partner?
Correct.
Correct. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Neal. Thank you, Mr. Spear. Are we through with this discussion? Then we will vote on the amendment, which is the mayor's amendment.
do you want me to read it again?
Sure.
I propose we amend the motion to read that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews awards Gemtech the contract for a coastal study on the proposed Market Wharf.
Thank you, Mayor Henderson. Are you ready for the vote, council? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? One. Mr. Bennett, Councillor Bennett. Thank you, council. Now we go back to the original motion, and we need to vote on that. So,
Just
oh no,
discussion
because
on
we
that.
have the discussion on it first. I remembered.
Do we,
Discussion.
sorry, just, can you clarify does that motion still exist where we just amended it? Like, we didn't create a new motion to go along with it?
No,
We
just
amended the
amended
existing
it.
one.
Yeah.
So what are we discussing now then?
Well, there's two things. You can either, there's three things. You can go ahead, if you feel comfortable with a decision one way or the other, because maybe some of you that are more, just as concerned about the heritage and everything, other things that were brought up, and that the modeling won't, maybe you want to put it to a vote and defeat it. You can make an amendment, a second amendment that addressing Councillor Heenan's concern that if we'll only move ahead on the proposal if the project, if the title study, probably not the right word, it's a longer word, but this title study is positive, then staff are given the thing to go ahead or just proceed, period, is kind of the three options. But right now, the motion as presented is that we authorize the tendering of Market Square and Market Wharf. So you could also table it until completion of the study, if that's important for you to make a decision.
Yeah, just a point of order, Deputy Mayor, is the motion no longer exists because we changed the motion. So I think just to wrap up tonight, I think it would be good, just so the public is aware, maybe get a quick consensus of council if this project comes back favorable as far as the coastal study, that they are comfortable going ahead with this project. Otherwise, let's save this community $25,000, right? So that's really the fundamental question. You don't need a motion, but if majority of us aren't going ahead with this anyway, let's not spend $25,000. Although we just did the motion, that's the gist of what I'm getting at. So I would try to get consensus on that.
Okay, but what happens to the motion?
It's gone.
It's gone?
Yeah.
Okay. Council, what is your preference? To go ahead with the Gemtech, and if it comes in favorable, then we will go ahead with the tendering?
Yeah,
Could I see?
Yeah, through your Deputy Mayor, I would just say, just a quick show of hands.
Yeah,
How
that's what I was
many, if
gonna
it comes back favorable, plan to continue with this proposed model?
Okay, one,
So you've got consensus saying that if this comes back favorable, this will go. You've got majority
majority,
saying it.
yeah. A nay from Councillor.
So does that answer your question, Councillor Heenan and Mr. Spear?
Thanks. As it was, so council, so you're just aware, that was
Yeah.
just again a consensus
Just a
vote.
consensus
That's to say, if, again,
Okay.
if it comes back as a positive to move forward, council is willing to move forward with the project at this point in time. Thank you.
Thank you, Council, for putting up with me. And thank you, Mayor, for
problem.
advising me. Now, Mayor, you can have the chair back.
Hold on, your worship, just.
So sorry. It will be debated, but.
Your worship, you really should have a formal motion to so, council, please.
Council, we need a formal motion of this?
Yes, it's recommended that, and here's the motion you can go with. If the Gemtech, that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews approves the Market Wharf and Market Square tendering upon completion and positive results on the Gemtech report. If you go with that, at least then you have a formal motion and direction for staff to move forward.
Okay, so I need a mover. Councillor Heenan, seconder, Councillor Bennett.
Mr.
Do we-
Knopper, can you say it
Oh.
again?
Sorry.
So that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews would approve the tendering of the Market Wharf and Market Square project on the completion of the Gemtech report with a positive outcome towards moving forward with the Market Wharf project, essentially within that scope. Does that work for council?
Does that work, Council? We have a mover. Oops.
I hate to be the clog in the wheel, but we don't know what positive outcome means, to be honest. It's too wide open.
Okay,
Okay.
so
I think basically we'll table the original motion, proceed with the tech, and then we'll have a review, and it'll probably, in early August, we will, or mid-July, hopefully, we'll have to pick up this debate again. But that was the missing piece of the puzzle for most of council, to have a model, once that's done. So we should have to have a motion to table the original report, but we're going to proceed with the modeling.
Okay, let's motion, and we need a motion to table the first.
yes, you need a motion to table that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews approves or authorizes the tendering of the Market Wharf and Market Square project.
Okay,
So you're
Council-
tabling that.
Councillor Highland moves. Seconder, Councillor Heenan. No more discussion? We're going for the vote. Whoa, sorry, Councillor Weir.
Yes, I'm uncomfortable with delaying everything for that long. But the same token, if you were to ask for a motion on this, the call for tenders, I would have a hard time voting for it with using the engineering firm that is being proposed at this point in time. I think the Gemtech study is it's a safety thing, it's a public perception thing, and I understand the risks of going to tender while it's being done. But at the same time, I'm not prepared to vote to go to tender until the engineering issue is resolved.
Deputy Mayor?
So noted, Councillor Weir.
Again, I don't know if this is a point of order or not, but I'm struggling to understand why we're creating a new motion just to table it. The motion that was brought before us was amended and changed and voted on. So
we don't-
the tendering motion no longer exists. I don't know why we created a new
exists.
motion.
It exists.
It was
under the rule.
changed.
It was changed, it was amended, so the original motion, as you know, vote on the amendment, and then the original motion as amended.
Mr. Spear is correct that, and this has been a procedure that council you have done.
Voted on the amendment.
Anytime you have done a motion, you have your motion that's been presented, you had a mover and a seconder for it, then it was amended, then you approved the amendment, so it goes back to the motion as was presented, basically the motion there as amended. So you're going to go forward with the Gemtech report, but also you were amending that with the point of going forward with the tender. So you do have to basically vote on
I'm
Gemtech
sorry,
and tender.
I'm
Well,
getting
if
tired
you-
here, but
No, but if you want it, if you want more clarity, you could table this motion, have a second motion, just do the modeling separately.
all I'm saying is that in the amendment, when we amended that original motion, we didn't keep the original motion. The motion that the mayor put forward was a completely different wording with no mention of tendering whatsoever. That's correct. And we voted on that and accepted it.
So I asked for, then we said we could table it, and so I'm not
No,
following where you're,
There's no wording about tendering in the motion that we just accepted.
So, clarification here. What ended up happening was no official motion was the motion that is presented to you in your agenda package was never actually moved or seconded. What came forward was Mayor Henderson, sorry. Chris is correct.
Yeah.
It was motioned originally by Councillor Heenan, seconded by Bennett. And at that point in time, that motion that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews authorizes the tendering of Market Wharf and Market Square was the amendment, was the motion on file. At that point in time, it was then amended by Mayor Henderson and seconded by Councillor Heenan to amend to have Gemtech for a coastal study of the Market Wharf. That's the amendment. So you passed that amendment. Now you have to go back to the original motion as amended. So your original motion as amended would be that the Town of St. Andrews, essentially, that the Town of St. Andrews authorizes the tendering of the Market Square and Market Wharf project with the Gemtech study, is where you're at. That is how the motion is essentially set at this exact time.
yes, Councillor Neal, we talked about getting that authority, but everyone was wanting to wait till the modeling came back to make a decision, which is fair,
Yeah.
honestly, so.
All I'm getting at is the amended motion then should have included the tendering part.
That's
The
essentially
the
where
wording around it should have been, we changed the motion, we amended it, and it should have included the tendering portion, if we wanted to keep the two of them.
But you're through the process here. You had the original motion. You had the second motion, which was just a straight amendment to have Gemtech as the coastal study of the Market Wharf. That was seconded. Then it went through the portion of discussion of that, of the amendment, to which then it was motioned and passed, and then that brings you back to your original motion as amended. So your original motion as amended should be that you're still moving forward with the tendering process with the Gemtech study. That's where we're
So,
at.
That it was
Mayor-
so if I could, why don't we just table this motion? Deputy Mayor, Councillor Ware, and yourself get together to talk about the concerns over engineer, and you bring it back in 2 weeks to talk about this. You've got to do this study that takes 2 months anyway. Let's figure it out versus argue over motions. I have no problem moving to table whatever motion you're proposing. Have that conversation, come back to the table, and decide what you want to do, because you have essentially 2 months now. Okay?
I just have a point of order.
Okay, Councillor Blanchard.
I'm hoping I can clear this because table the motion as we have on the table right now also tables the study with Gemtech. That's the way it's written right now. So if someone could make a motion to split, if someone could make a motion to split the motion to have Gemtech separate from the original motion of moving forward, authorizing the tendering process, I think we would be able to then vote on we would be able to vote on the Gemtech motion to move forward, and we'll be able to table the other pending the outcome of the Gemtech study. Would that not work?
Yeah, you're okay with that, Ms. So if I could, through your worship, I would move to split them, and so that way we can keep this moving on. Could I have a seconder?
Seconder, Councillor Harland. Oh, sorry, missed you guys. All right, so we need to vote on this last motion, correct? So the motion about separating the two. So all those in favor? Aye.
Okay, hold on.
Hold on.
Is council okay with what the motions are being presented as this time? Okay.
Okay.
So your motion right now would be that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews is moving forward with the Gemtech report, but also waiting till that is complete before going to tender.
Okay. Councillor Heenan.
Yes, Your Worship. I do still go back to my original point that I have a problem with the town putting out $25,000 in a Gemtech study, and then we haven't approved the motion to go forward with the project. Like, I really have a problem because we've already spent $400,000 on a project that we still haven't put through. And another $25,000, and if it comes back positive, and what positive to me means that it's not hurting the environment, that everything is fine, then we come back and we have this motion tabled. So that then we go through this again. And what if we say no? Then we've wasted $25,000. So I have a big problem with the fact of tabling the motion. I feel that it needs to have a motion that says that if we get the results that we request from Gemtech, that the project goes through, because I'm not interested in spending $25,000 more, throwing money after a sinking ship. I just can't do that. And it's not fair to the taxpayers of the town of St. Andrews. If we don't have a light at the end of the tunnel that says, okay, Gemtech says that there's no negative aspect to blah, 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 then we don't have an agreement then even to go through with the tender. So
Okay.
I can't support that. Sorry, thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Heenan. Councillor Neal? He had first.
Yeah, just again,
Sorry.
reiterating the fact that the Gemtech study has already been voted on and approved. Yep, and again, I think myself and others want that study to make an informed decision about moving forward.
Okay.
So I cannot do the two of them at the same time. It doesn't make any sense. Thank you.
Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. At the end of the day, if we do this study, we get an answer in 2 months, whatever the results say, if it says that we potentially could have some seaweed wash up on the shore, does that mean we're not going to fix the wharf? At the end of the day, what's the study going to tell us that's going to change the fact that this town desperately needs the wharf fixed, wants the wharf fixed, and this is the choice in front of us is what the community voted on, and we have funding for it. So whether someone has seaweed on their shore or not, you live on the ocean, I'm sorry, right? And I don't mean to belittle someone's concerns, but no matter what the study says, are you prepared to say, no, we're not going to go ahead with the wharf, and we're going to give back the $5.4 million. We're not going to go to tender process with the $400,000 we spent on engineering and start all over again for another council for another 5 or however many years it will take. The process has been fair and reasonable, and I do really appreciate that this council opened up the whole vetting process again, included Bayside and Shamcook, because now we're on the hook for paying part of it. So I really appreciate that you gave us all a chance to speak and everybody spoke. And this model that we're trying to approve here tonight is what was approved. Now, I do agree with Councillor Weir that there's serious problems with our engineering firm, and that should be looked at and dealt with. But at the end of the day, we still have, $5.4 million that's sitting on the table, and if we don't use it, we're going to lose it. And no matter what the study comes back and says, I'm sorry, but if someone ends up with seaweed on their shoreline more than what they had before, I don't think that is so, detrimental to the town that we need to give up our wharf.
Point of order,
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
Okay.
Again, are we debating the moving this project forward?
No, he was stating about the Gemtech, I believe.
Yes.
Okay. Councillor Harlan, did you have something to say? And thank you, Councillor Bennett.
I thought we had already
We have
voted
voted.
on the
Gemtech
Gemtech.
has been voted.
I
Right
think-
now,
I thought-
I think
Right
right now,
now-
we're just voting to split them to two
Split the two
separate
of them
things.
into two
So
separate
basically, on paper, we can go do the Gemtech report, get it done, then council can have it in your hands. We'll probably need them to come down to explain
So
it.
we don't need a motion, or we don't vote on the motion?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, we do, on the separation of the two?
Yes.
Okay, so we had a mover and a seconder. So we're separating the two so that they're not together. Do you understand the question, council? All those in favor of separating? Aye. Please keep your hand raised for the moment. That's the whole unanimous. So it's carried. The second one is, what is the second one?
So your deputy mayor,
Yeah.
now you just have to officially table the first motion to the next meeting.
Okay,
On-
so the
on
first motion needs to be tabled. We need a mover and a
on persi-
seconder.
Yeah.
We already have the mover
You
and
already have
seconder
the
for
mover and
table?
seconder for the
Okay,
tabling of the original
so-
motion.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
You already have a mover and a seconder on the original tabling of the motion.
Okay, so we
of
need to vote
of the
on it.
original motion.
So the original motion to be tabled
Right.
till the Gemtech comes in?
Correct.
One way or the other, okay? All those in favor signify by saying aye and hold your hand up until we get counted here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. And nay? 2 nays. Thank you very much, council, for your patience. All right. Oh, no, the second one too, Councillor Heenan. Thank you very much.
Hold on, Madam Chair, are you going to?
Hold on.
Is your worship going to take back over the
Are you gonna
chairing for the
take over the
last
chair, or do you-
section?
No,
she can just.
Okay, thank you, just so I know for the minutes.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Okay. Yes, page,
All right, Your Worship, this one is FA 250627. Brad Henderson, Mayor for the Town of St. Andrews resignation. On April the
Sorry,
7th,
Councillor Heenan, sorry, just a point of order,
microphone?
sorry to interrupt.
yes,
We not need to have a vote then on the on the split motion to move forward with the Gemtech study?
You
no,
already
that
did.
we already did vote on
And you
it
voted
very
for it.
beginning. So it's just that we separated
We
the two.
voted on an amended motion to add that to an original motion.
okay.
That
then
was
we
the only
voted to
vote that we
separate
had to agree to the amendment. We haven't voted on that, to my knowledge, unless I'm mistaken.
Oh, I thought we separated it.
So
We voted to separate, but
Oh,
we
sorry.
haven't voted on the separate motions. We voted to we tabled one.
Yes.
We haven't voted on the Gemtech motion to move forward with the Gemtech motion.
Okay.
Okay.
Council,
So we need to
two separate
vote
motion
on
votes.
the Gemtech to have that done. The original motion for that, so it's a separate entity. Is that clear enough, council? All right. All those in favor for the Gemtech study, say aye. Hold your hands up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 nay. 1,
Councillor Weir voted in
Council-
favor.
He what?
He voted in favor.
He voted in favor. Okay, sorry, I missed him. All right, so carried. Thank you very much, Councillor Blanchard. Sorry for the inconvenience. All right, so now we move on to page 129,
129,
the Mayor Henderson of the Town of St. Andrews resignation. And Councillor Weir, you continue on, please.
Thank you. Reference number FA 250627. Brad Henderson, Mayor for the Town of St. Andrews, resignation. On April the 7th, 2025, the clerk of the Town of St. Andrews was notified that Mr. Brad Henderson, Mayor for the Town of St. Andrews, would be resigning his position of office on June the 2nd, 2025. Local Governance Act, Section 50, bracket 1, a vacancy results in council when B, a member resigns from office. Section 511, subject to subsection 3 and 4, the council shall by resolution within 2 months after the date that the vacancy arises declare any vacancies resulting under paragraphs 50 bracket 1, bracket B to H, and any resignation provided in subsection 55, bracket 3, and within 10 days after declaration, the clerk shall forward a certified copy of the resolution to the municipal electoral officer and shall be old by a by-election to fill the vacancies. Note that with the upcoming municipal elections in May of 2026, there will be no by-election called. Local Governance Act, Section 48-4, in absence of the mayor or inability of the mayor to act, or if the office of the mayor is vacant, the deputy mayor shall act in the place of the mayor, and while due acting, the deputy mayor possesses the powers and shall perform the duties of the mayor. As such, Deputy Mayor Catherine Akagi will fill the role as mayor for the Town of St. Andrews. The motion reads that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews accepts the resignation of the office from the mayor, Brad Henderson, as of June 2nd, 2025, from the Town of St. Andrews, and I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Heenan. We need a seconder. Councillor Gomeschel, thank you very much. Any further discussion, Council, on this motion? I just want to say we're sorry to see you go. We understand the reasons why you're going. You're certainly going to be missed on this council, and I know that you're only a phone call away. But I did say I have big shoes to fill, and he held up his foot and said it's very tiny. They're very tiny. So I still have big shoes to fill, even though they're little feet. But I do thank you, and I thank you, council.
Can we take that out of the minutes? Oh, no, that's going to be bolded and underlined.
Sorry, Your Worship. Past worship, anyway. Thank you very much for all your service and your commitment to our community, to the people that you have served, to your family who has given up a lot. We really appreciate it, and I really appreciated working with students that I had. Thank you very much, and whatever you endeavor to do, may God look after you. God bless you. So we need to vote on this motion, as much as we don't want to see him go, but good time to the chair, I guess. All those in favor, say aye. Contrary minded? No, just joking. Carried unanimously.
Your Worship, the next motion.
Just one sec.
Sorry.
I just wanted to just say thank you, council, very quickly, since I'm no longer actually at this table anymore. It's been a pretty remarkable 4 years, and before that, a remarkable 5 years. And I did kind of do a post today of some of the things that I'm very proud of that we accomplished together as a group. Be happy to send that to any of you, but I'm not going to make this very, very long, but I just wanted to say thank you to each and every one of you council members for this experience. We don't always agree, but I can honestly say that I've got respect for each and every one of you, And I think people forget at the end of the day that there is compensation for this, but no one in the right mind would actually do it for what it pays. You're here because you care about your community, and we don't always agree on what is best for the community, but again, that is democracy. So it's been an absolute pleasure, and I do want to recognize as well town staff. You know, if you see sometimes out there, you hear about, oh, St. Andrews is doing that, St. Andrews is doing that, and most of the time it's not this table, it's the town staff. We have very incredible town staff. I've had the pleasure of working very closely with Chris Spear and Paul Knopper in particular over the last few years. We've got really good leadership there, and I could go on about all the different departments. Like look at the community, just drive around and what it looks like, and then go visit other places or live somewhere else, and you'll realize that the level of service that we have through our public works, our departments, whether it be the arena, we have 2 staff members run this whole arena. Like that is, look at the size of it. That's pretty amazing, and I could go on about every single department that this community has. So for staff, I just wanted to recognize you and thank you for most days making us look good, that's for sure.
That's right.
Just a couple quick shout outs. I've got Richard and Linda Arsenault that are here from Fredericton. Give a wave, Richard and Linda. Or Linda probably won't. But Richard will. Just wanted to say that those are 2 people that have been a big part of my life for, I guess, around the last 20 years. And, you know, Richard, when I moved back to New Brunswick, took a week off work and helped me pack up to move back here. And they are family to me. And the fact that they drove down from Fredericton just to be here tonight to stand and watch that wharf debate. We're not going to talk about it when I get home. And of course, my parents, we're having 3 young boys. There's a lot of nights where Christina's running one way, and then there's a soccer game or a hockey game the other. I don't know if you know, but like Monday nights is like hockey night for one of my kids, and my dad comes to the arena and waits every time to give him a drive home. So my mom and dad have constantly been there to provide support for Christina and I so I could serve town council, because I know that you could pay for a babysitter for town council. It was a motion from the previous council. I've never ever used that, and I wouldn't anyway, but I certainly don't have to because my parents are a very low rate. And Hunter, Tristan, and Luke, they're here tonight. I'm going to ask them just in a moment to come up and take my medals off. For those of you that were there 4 years ago at the courthouse steps, Hunter and Tristan put my medals on me, so I thought it'd be only fitting that they have the honor of taking them off and giving them to Mr. Knopper. Luke was too young. He would have been 1 year old. He couldn't go up the steps of the courthouse, so watch the cords, but he's going to come up here and give a help to his brothers. I just wanted to say how much I'm looking forward to it. I do put kind of their hockey schedules, their soccer schedules. I put it in my calendar. I try to respect it, and I get there a lot of the time, but it's the impromptus, and I've told you a lot of this time where, hey, Dad, do you want to go play catch? Do you want to kick a soccer ball when I don't have it scheduled? And usually my response has been, I'm sorry, but I got a meeting. I'm really looking forward to saying that a lot less and being there for those impromptu moments. And then last but not least, oh, God. Just Christina, thank you. I'm not going to talk anymore. I'll cry, but man, I did not plan to cry. Thank you. Thank you. I meant to say more. I can't. So, Hunter, Tristan, and Luke, Hunter, of your...
Mayor Henderson, can you come up front into the crowd, into the middle here, please?
Oh, we're making this more formal.
Yep. And would you like to call your family up?
Yeah.
So they can take your medals?
Yeah, Hunter, Tristan, and Luke. Now I get to heckle the rest of you.
You don't talk about me.
That's right, you're in here.
Talk about me one more time and then get wrong.
Luke's the next mayor.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, the next motion, Councillor Heenan?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. That's a hard one to follow.
Yeah.
Oh, Mayor. Sorry, Mayor Akagi. that
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, hang on. Going to be just in a
You're a
minute.
little early yet.
The motion that the council of the town of St. Andrews accept Deputy Mayor Kate Catherine Akagi as mayor of the town of St. Andrews to fill the vacant role of the office of mayor for the town of St. Andrews. I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Heenan, and Councillor Gumashal beat you, Councillor Bennett, for the second, seconded. All right, so you know the question, all those in favor, say aye. Contrary minded? Not seeing any? It's carried unanimously.
So I'll now ask our mayor, Catherine Akagi, to please come forward.
Okay, we got another one to do.
As the clerk of the town of St. Andrews, I am proud to bestow upon you the medals of the chain of office of the town of St. Andrews.
Turn this
I also
way,
came
please.
prepared with a nice name plaque.
Thank you. Oh, we even got the sign. Okay. Pleasure.
Thank you, Mayor.
No, there was Steve's ahead. Yeah, I'm putting my thumb.
You can't do that.
Yes, you can.
Do you want me in the center seat or stay here?
In your center seat, Your
In
Worship.
the center seat. Okay, I gotta take my book with me then. Excuse me. Thank you, Councilor. Just need my papers.
It's a way cushier chair, I bet.
Oh, yeah, I gotta lower the
Comes with more headaches.
Yes, that's true.
Oh, actually, it's the same height as me. Oh, Councilor Harlan, I forgot to shut my mic. Thank you, council and everyone that's in the audience. Appreciate that. Now, we're on to the next motion.
Okay.
Councilor Heenan, you're still
Madam
on.
Mayor, Madam Mayor,
Yes.
FA 250628, appointment of a deputy mayor for the town of St. Andrews. As deputy mayor, Kate Akagi will be filling the role of mayor for the town of St. Andrews under bylaw 23-06. A procedural bylaw council has the ability to appoint a deputy mayor with the position being vacant. Bylaw 23-06. Section 5.1, council shall, at the first meeting and any subsequent time the position of deputy mayor is vacant, elect a councillor as deputy mayor for the term of council. Section 5.1, councillors may be nominated or self-nominated for the position of deputy mayor. Section 5.1.2, a majority vote of the whole council will determine the newly appointed deputy mayor. Section 5.2, any councillor may refuse to be nominated as deputy mayor. Councillors should select a new deputy mayor to fulfill this role and back up the mayor on any files, meetings, or representations of the town.
So, Your Worship, prior to a reading of the motion, we now have to look at an election and nominations from the floor of council. So, council,
nominations?
we're seeking nominations for deputy mayor.
Councilor Harlan
I would like to nominate Steve Neal.
and Councilor Neal, do you accept that?
I will, yes.
Okay. Any others? Are there any other nominations? Councilor Bennett?
Do we need seconders or just a mover?
No, it has to be an acceptance of the person first
Acceptance
as the
first.
nominee. So we have one nominee at this point, and I believe Councilor Bennett was up.
Councilor Bennett?
Yes, Your Worship, I'd like to nominate Councillor Darrell Weir.
Okay. Councilor Weir, do you accept the position?
I guess after the meeting tonight, I will say no.
Thank you, Councillor Ware. Okay. Councillor Gomichel.
Thank you, Worship. I'd like to nominate Councillor Harland. I didn't ask her first, so I apologize.
Councillor Harlan, do you accept the position of Deputy Mayor?
Do you accept the nomination?
Nomination for Deputy.
Thank you, Councillor Gomichel, for nominating me, but I decline.
Okay. So, anybody else for the position? Any other nominations? Any other volunteers? All right. Then now we proceed with the motion.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Here we go. That the Council of the Town of St. Andrews appoints Councillor Steve Neal as Deputy Mayor for the Town of St. Andrews under bylaw number 23-06, a procedural bylaw for the organization and operation of council to the Town of St. Andrews. I so move.
And we need a seconder. Councillor Bennett. Sorry. Ready for the question, Council? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Or raise your hand. Okay, that's everybody. Motion is carried unanimously.
Welcome, Deputy Mayor.
Congratulations, Deputy Mayor. Congratulations. Okay, and the next motion, Council?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Here we go. FA 250629. Check signing authority for the Town of St. Andrews. The background is the current signing authority with the Bank of Nova Scotia is the mayor or deputy mayor and the CAO/treasurer or assistant treasurer. With the newly filled position of mayor and deputy mayor, the positions need to be made signing authorities. Motion, be it resolved that the accounts in the name of the Town of St. Andrews, herein called the corporation, be kept at the Bank of Nova Scotia, hereinafter called the bank, and the mayor or deputy mayor, together with the CAO/treasurer or assistant treasurer, are hereby authorized for and in the name of the corporation to sign, make, draw, accept, endorse, and deliver checks, promissory notes, bills of exchange, orders for payment of money, and such agreements and instruments as they may be necessary for useful in the connection with the operation of the said accounts. That any one of the above-mentioned officers is hereby authorized for and in the name of the corporation to endorse and transfer to the bank for deposit or discount with or collection by bank, but for credit of the corporation only, checks, promissory notes, bills of exchange, orders for payment of money, and other instruments to arrange, settle, balance, and certify all books and accounts with the bank, and to sign receipts and vouchers. That a signature card for all accounts of the corporation shall be signed by the above-mentioned officers, filed with the bank, and shall be in the following form: Kate Akagi, Mayor, or Deputy Mayor's Steve Neal, and Chris Spears, CAO/treasurer, or Andrew Lord, assistant treasurer, and your mayor, I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Heenan. We need a seconder. Councillor Harland? Okay, ready for the question? All those in favor, say aye or raise your hand. And that's carried unanimously. Thank you, Council. All right, that brings us to the, there's no public works, there's no economic. So we're new business, and there's no new business, so we skip that. Question period, are there any questions, Mr. Nutter?
I have one online.
Okay.
I'm going to allow Mr. James Janot to speak to council.
Oh.
Mr. Janot, can you unmute yourself? You have the floor to council.
Thanks, Paul. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Loud and clear.
All right. Well, thank you for allowing me to speak, and congratulations, Mayor Akagi.
Thank you very much.
I just wanted to share that the speakers tonight should all be really commended for engaging in their public discourse. But I do echo the concerns of Mr. Simmons and what now former Mayor Henderson noted as well, namely the timing of this and the manner by which it was communicated. What we witnessed tonight is proper public engagement, and civil debate. Something that was offered prior in the public consultation process back in 2023. At that time, every resident of St. Andrews had the opportunity to participate in the public survey, the open house. There was a ability for you to submit a letter, an email. They could have also requested to speak tonight to council like Mr. Simmons did tonight. Basically, I just wanted to communicate that there are multiple means to communicate with the town. And I've asked to speak on Zoom, which is yet another format available to residents. Not because I want to speak to you as council, but because I also know that I'm on CHCO right now, and I want to issue a very clear message that I hope every resident of this town will hear. First off, you don't deserve this as members of the public service, either as councillors or town staff. When residents are given the opportunity to engage in public discourse, like during a public consultation, a town hall, or an open house, please share your voice and use the means the town are giving you to speak. That's not going on Facebook, Twitter, or other social media and expressing your discontent. I'm doing it on a Zoom call. It is that freaking easy to do. It's not difficult. You don't have to be in the public eye. But this means being engaged in the public process when it's asked of you, and in this case, back in 2023. And now I know there are some people watching or even in the room who don't like my opinion right now, and I can live with that. That's democracy. But the reality is, I hear you. We all hear you. What I'm asking everyone in the room or online or watching this on CHCO is please participate in the public process when you are asked to. And secondly, on the channels that the town asks you to. Further, just the visceral I've seen on social media over the past couple of weeks related to the wharf issue, and in some cases actually slanderous in nature against council members and town staff is completely unacceptable. I'm not arguing that anybody in the room or listening doesn't have valid concerns, opinions, or right to discuss or challenge a decision, but this needs to be done when we are asked to as citizens, and certainly not behind a computer screen on social media. The dedicated people that are, like you're all watching right now, sitting at the table tonight, both staff and council, don't deserve this nonsense. So I just want to implore all people in the room and watching tonight to reconsider your actions and think about the importance of engaging in a civic and responsible way with each other. We're a small and wonderful community, and there are way bigger threats out there that we really should be more concerned about than a wharf. And first and foremost, treat each other with respect, and please be kind to each other, our councillors and our town staff. Regardless of tonight's outcome, I just wanted to say that I 100% support the council. I support the town staff, your hard work, and I certainly hope that what I'm saying tonight will resonate with people in this town so that we don't see anything like this again. Because I just feel like we're all better than this. And to Mayor Brad, thank you for your service, sir. You've served our community well. I don't know if you're still in the room, but you will be a part of our town's legacy, and thank you. And I want to just thank all of you, council members and staff, for what you've been dealing with and for persevering. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Janot. Thank you for your kind words. And yes, the mayor's still in the room. Oh, the ex-mayor, sorry. Anybody else?
No one online.
No
We
one
did
else?
receive one additional letter I will provide to council as part of the package that you have received, but you can ask for questions from the audience.
Any questions from the audience? Okay, yeah. Cindy,
Is this on?
say your name, yes.
Regardless of the way I've chosen
Can you please say your
to-
name and your address, please? Thank you.
Sorry, Cindy Kohler.
Thank you.
In St. Andrews, 233 Water Street. Regardless of the way I've chosen to get the word out, I have been involved in the process all along. People have sent letters. People that are online don't get to see all of the letters, but I chose to do it more publicly so that people would sit up and pay attention, because people don't always listen to the public process and know exactly what's going on. I've been called out a lot tonight, humiliated, but I chose to speak up.
Thank you. Sorry, name went out of my head. But thank you very much for
Thank you,
your.
Cindy.
Thank you, Cindy, for your opinion and for your comments. Anybody else? Thank you. Alistair?
I'm Alistair Fox, and I was on the last Wharf Committee, and we had a really good committee going. We initiated the Cormier report. We were trying to make St. Andrews a sailing centre. We were in touch with people in Campobello. We pointed out the hazards with the fueling process, fire hazards. The committee was just disbanded. We weren't even told or thanked for the time and effort we had been put into it. And I think it was at the same time all the other committees were just disbanded, gardening and other ones.
Yes.
And I think if there had been a Wharf Committee, a lot of this process could have been done a lot more easily.
Thank you, Mr. Fox, for your comments. And we may be journeying back to those committees. Anyone else from the audience? No? If not, we move on to the councillors and deputy mayor's comments. Anybody? Councillor Harlan?
Thank you, Mayor Akachi. So I have 3 comments. First and foremost, Brad, I've said this before, but I will say it again. I have truly appreciated your leadership and your mentorship, and I will miss it greatly. Although I know that hopefully we'll continue to do some work in the community together, so I appreciate that. My second comment is around civic engagement. I believe that that is the life and breath of a community. It is sometimes messy, but it is absolutely critical. And we need to hear all of it, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I agree that we have to be careful around how we engage, and we have to, in whatever way we engage, we need to be respectful. But as a councillor sitting at this table, and this was, this is still a fairly new venture for me, 3 years down the road. I have appreciated immensely every time somebody has stopped me at the grocery store or at the post office or at Honeybeans to make a comment, to provide some information. I believe that that's why I am sitting at this table. And I appreciate all of the letters that come in, the information that's provided, the information that was provided tonight by Kevin and Alistair. That's new information to me and so critical a piece of history. And that's all about civic engagement. The fact that tonight we had to pull out extra chairs, I think that's critical. I love to see that happen. So while I agree with James' comment around the importance of being engaged at the time that we requested, I also value when people do it in other times because they may not have seen a notice or whatever. So I truly appreciate that. My third comment is a little plug. So James Hurdle and Councillor Hurdle, sorry, I'll never get those titles right, and Deputy Mayor Neil now, and myself are part of the St. Andrews Wellness Committee, which is an advisory committee of council. And we are hosting, you may have seen posters, I hope you've seen posters around town, a free workshop on Wednesday, June 11th. It's a Living Works workshop, or a Living Works session on, it's called Safe Talk. And it's training. Living Works is a global trainer around mental health issues. And the Safe Talk is a 4-hour training on how to engage with someone who may be expressing suicidal ideation and how to get them the right help. It's being facilitated by CMHA, and this is normally at a significant cost to individuals, but we are sponsoring that training. We have 30 seats, and it's first comes, first serve. I really, really encourage you to consider it or to ensure that other people are aware of it. Just because what we know, the best way to address suicide is by talking about it. And this workshop is all about becoming comfortable with that. So June 11th, you register with CMHA, Lisa Cheney she's our CMHA person for Charlotte County, and I encourage everybody to consider this. Thank you. Oh, it's 1 to 4:30, and it's in the ballroom. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Pardon?
And do people have to register?
Yes, people have to register because we only have 30 seats.
And how do they register?
And how
CMHA.
they contact Lisa Cheney directly.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Good
You did say
details.
that.
Thank you.
And Arena. Okay. Thank you, Councillor Harlan. Councillor Heenan.
Yes, Your Worship. First, I have to say a big thank you to former Mayor Brad Henderson. This is my first stint on politics, and Mr. Henderson has made life in council very easy for me. There wasn't a Monday morning that I needed help that I couldn't go talk to him, and I gotta say, he can hold it together. And I don't know, there's not words enough to say how much I appreciate his guidance over the last 4 years. And he's a true gentleman, father, husband, friend, whatever, and I'm so happy that I've had the pleasure of 4 years with him. On that note, I would like to welcome Mayor Akagi to a position. Mayor Akagi's been on council for a lot of years and been deputy mayor, and so I greatly appreciate her stepping up to the plate to take over. I also want to congratulate Deputy Mayor Neal. I'm very pleased that he is our deputy mayor, and like all of us, he works diligently for the town. And I want to thank you publicly and say thank you and welcome aboard. The third thing I would like to bring up is communication. We, as a town, which I'm very proud of, have numerous modes of transportation for communication to us. On the weekend, I get emails all the time. I meet people like Councillor Harlan down at the grocery store, and I'm very, very pleased when I get to talk both positively and negatively to people, because there is negativity. I personally don't like direct attack behind my back, and I'm going to say that publicly. I'm quite put out by that, and quite frankly, I grew up in a society where bullies don't work, and I'm not going to be bullied. But I have open opportunity to say and to make sure that I talk to anybody who comes to talk to me. But to publicly and let's say behind my back bully me, no, I don't do that well. And so I'm just saying up front that my door is always opened. I have people stop by my yard to talk, and I'm very happy with that sort of communication, and I hope that everybody else will always do that, because I'm here for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Heenan. Anybody else? Deputy Mayor Neal.
Thank you, Mayor Akagi. I just want to echo what's been said already again regarding the communication. Ideally, in a perfect world, as Mr. Janot pointed out, again, I think it would be great if the public consultation happened when we asked for it. But at the same time, I recognize that it's not always going to work like that. Again, I appreciate all forms of it. It doesn't bother me what the media is. I think it's all very important and very valuable. I try to read as much as I can. I try to filter it out. I think I can do a very good job of filtering out a lot of it. But unfortunately, I mean, sometimes it takes that public engagement to really get people going on a topic. Unfortunately, not everybody follows along. I can't imagine we're the most exciting thing to watch on a Monday night. So yeah, sometimes it does take that 11th hour before people really start to ask questions and start to wonder what's going on. And if they get involved at that point, or they get involved from the beginning, I'm welcome to it. The last thing I want to say, again, is another thank you to the former mayor, Brad Henderson. We've been friends for a long time. He's been a great mentor for me, for my time on council. Quite honestly, I probably wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. I don't know if I should thank him or not for that. But he has definitely been a great source of information and support throughout our time on council together. So I want to thank him for that.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Neal. And for me, sorry, Councillor
Can I
Gomichel.
jump
I'm
in
so
there, new
sorry.
mayor? Just very briefly, yeah, echoing what Deputy Mayor Neal has said. I want to thank Brad for talking me into sticking around and then bailing out. I do want to thank. It's appropriate on his last night. He came up with a good compromise to potentially save the wharf project moving forward. Even though there's it's an 8-week delay, and it'll get in potentially get into next summer. It is a compromise, and hopefully that'll move forward. And I want to thank him for all his hard work and sacrifices, him and his family. I know it's a lot to sit around here, and they're great. They're a great bunch, and we're so lucky that they moved back to St. Andrews, and our community is really enriched by them. So thank you very much, former Mayor Henderson.
Thank you, Councillor Gomichel. And
you had Councillor Blanchard first this time.
Councillor Blanchard, you're next.
Thank you, Your Worship. Again, just wanted to, like everyone else, say thank you to our former mayor, Brad Henderson. Certainly thank him for his service to the community as a councillor and as a mayor. What he has done for this particular council, I don't think can be understated. Certainly, we're not always pulling in the same direction, but he had a way to, I think, more often than not, bring us around and get us all sort of, as it were, sort of pulling in the same direction. So I certainly appreciate that, his ability to sort of synthesize an issue, summarize an issue, and really help some new councillors when we were new, and still with his experience, even as we've been here for a few years now, 4 years, I guess. There are still things, there's still that history that he brings to a lot of issues and can provide that background. So really do appreciate all the work that he's put in and everything that he's provided to me and to our council, to our community. And hopefully next week when I'm back home, I'll have the opportunity to take him out and perhaps we can sort of toast all the work that he's done and his and just how much we appreciate the work that he's done. So thank you very much to Brad. Appreciate it. And congratulations to our new mayor and to our new deputy mayor as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Blanchard. And now Councillor Hurdle.
Thank you very much. I hope you guys can hear me okay, and I'll try to keep my comments brief as it is after 2 o'clock in the morning where I am right now, but I didn't want to miss up the opportunity to thank Brad. I was going through my stuff not that long ago, and I found old photos of us being on the same hockey team when we were kids. So I just wanted to say thank you for having the privilege of being on thin ice with you at least more than once in my life, and just the opportunity. Again, of course, I shared a lot of my thoughts with you privately, but the opportunity to work with you and through your leadership has been truly life-changing. And just wanted to commend you that even at the 11th hour. Today, you were still sacrificing to try to find a compromise for everybody, still showing that tremendous amount of leadership that you have. And I wouldn't be the person I am today without your leadership over the last 4 years. And I just wanted to say thank you very much, and I appreciate you.
Thank you, Councillor Hurdle. Okay. Councillor Weir, do you want to say anything? No? Okay. Well, then, it's my chance.
That's a good thing.
So I want to reiterate what the council has said about Mayor Henderson. I think with your leadership, we have all grown in many ways. I know I certainly have. And I've known him probably longer than any of you because I met him in school a long time ago. But he's really matured and coached him in curling, so can't say hockey, but can say curling. So thank you very much, Mayor Henderson. I know your family will appreciate you coming home. And I'd like to thank Christine because she's put up with a lot from him being away, from us taking his time away from the boys and you. I really appreciate that you shared him with us for these 8 years and plus. So thank you very much. It's a lot of work by you. Now, with that being said, I do have a couple of things. Debbie retired, and Amanda Harrington and Abby took over, and I think they will do a wonderful job, and I just want to thank them for coming on board. Debbie, I want to thank staff, and I know the mayor did a great job with his speech about the staff doing a great reception for Debbie, and it was well received, and she was very happy. So all of those things were great. And she donated her donations to the St. Andrews Playground. So Debbie's still caring about the kids, and she will continue to work with kids. So I'm really happy for that. The other thing I wanted to mention, like everybody else, I have a few things to say. Bags, any size, for the food bank would be greatly appreciated still. You can still drop them off at the town office. I don't think they'll kick my bags out. It's great. They love them, so I appreciate getting them, and I don't mind driving them over. June the 19th, this is Sir James Dunn Academy graduation. So look forward to seeing you. Congratulations to the Sir James Dunn Academy graduates. My great niece is a graduate this year, Madison, and I had another great niece who graduated from the United States. She went to college there, so I'd like to congratulate her too, Emma. So congratulations, and I will see you on Madison on graduation day. June 23rd is the NBCC graduation, so I look forward to attending that, and congratulations all graduates from NBCC. We love having you in our community. If you're in a 2-year program, you'll be back next year. If not, I hope that you will stick around and maybe find a job and a place to live now that we have worked on that very diligently, and that's thank you to the council and staff. And the last thing is, of course, my Indigenous side is coming out. June 21st is National Aboriginal Day, and there will be activities in the Market Square before it goes undersea or out to sea. But there will be activities there, and they always have a lobster roll. So I'm hoping the lobster roll is still there, but there will be activities, drumming probably, and a lot of information for those of you that don't know much about the Aboriginal history. They may tell you about drumming or whatever. It'll be the 21st, and it'll probably start around, I'll say 10 o'clock. We don't have any concrete information or a poster, but it is coming out, so please check on our website, Facebook, whatever. So I want to thank you in advance for that you might attend and hear some drumming and whatnot. My last thing is that I'm not adept at Facebook. I'm sorry, I don't do all of those media things. I hope that the council will advise me if there's anything on there, but I just don't do Facebook or Twitter or any of that, and I'm going to tell you frankly and honestly, I don't like it. Sorry? I'm better for it. But I just don't do it. There's just too much on there that upsets me, so I just don't do it. But that being said, I do have a phone with an answering machine on it, and we do have the town office. So if you need to contact me or meet me in, as people do, downtown or anywhere that I am, they generally talk to me. So I'm hoping that won't stop. I'm hoping that you will continue to talk to me as Councillor Harlan said, I'm pretty approachable. I don't think I'm not. So please do, if you have opinions or whatever, you have something to say, I'm gladly there. And I thank staff in ahead. I thank staff. Thanks staff in advance for all their assistance in the future. And I thank you for putting up with my little knocks that as I learn the ropes from the guy over there in the corner. I have to, as I say, I have little shoes, but I still have to fill them. So thank you very much, Mayor Henderson, and I appreciate it. So with that, are we going to close session? No. So then I'm asking for a motion to adjourn. Oh, look at Councillor Bennett beat everybody. And and Councillor Hurdle. Do you have something to say? No.
Oh, he was motioning to second.
it. Okay. That's the one thing I'm going to miss is I'm not going to get this.
Make the
All
call.
in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? So at 9:19, we are closed. Thank you, council. Thank you, CHCO-TV.